you know, the biggest insult I could give this platform that we've built, Late Night Grin, is that in a strange way we feel built for moments like this. And I had no intention 20 minutes ago of being live, and one person asked me, and I was like, birds fly, fish swim, and I go live after bad wrestling shows. Folks, Ric Flair's last match is in the books. It has been quite the night. Expert panel as always. We have our pal, Connor Casey, hopping on for a Late Night Grin cameo. Connor, how are you doing tonight, pal?
I'm good, man. This is the weekend that will not end for me, so I figured why not hop on a podcast and keep things rolling.
Was you at the SummerSlam last night, Connor?
No. So here's what happened. I was at all the media day stuff on Friday. I was even at a Special Olympics thing they did on Thursday. Then, so I get out of the media scrum that Hunter did with Big E and Bianca and everybody on Friday. Run back to the apartment, write a few stories, hop on a plane to Chicago, where I proceed to spend roughly 48 hours because my brother and his fiance decided that their bachelorette weekend was going to be at Lollapalooza in Chicago. I am the best man for said ceremony, so it's something I really couldn't miss. Stayed at the festival for a good 5.5 hours. Saw Dashboard Confessional play live, which quite an experience even in 2022.
Yeah.
Then had to hop on the L, get back to the Airbnb we were staying at, cover SummerSlam from the Airbnb, proceed to have a massive migraine where I can barely see out of my left eye by the main event. That was fun. Go to bed immediately after, and then hop on another plane this morning to get back here in time for this.
Bravo.
So it has been a full one. I was supposed to have a dentist appointment tomorrow. I've already canceled. I'm like, absolutely.
It makes it even more ridiculous that you're spending your time with us on a Sunday evening, but we appreciate it. I will say, of all the WWE main events to have impaired vision, the one where the ring got turned upside down and made me even freak out for most of it is quite the ordeal. But there you go.
I was definitely like, what am I looking at right now?
That's one of the craziest visuals I've honestly ever seen. Like when Cole was doing the big sell, I was like, he's right. That's insane. I've never seen anything like that.
But the fact that it went another 5 minutes, like you break the ring, that's the finish.
I don't know, bro. I don't know. It was quite the time. Confirm, shoot. You did not watch this show tonight. You're here to kind of soak in the emotion, the drama, the theater. How are you doing tonight, pal?
Oddly enough, everything Connor just went through, that's been my last 2 days as well, which is really, I don't know what the odds of that are. As for this show, not unlike Ric Flair, I'm not sure why I'm here or where I am.
Bro, someone just tweeted, listen, I hope this ages well, because God bless the man, but someone tweeted, I'm almost certain that Rick thinks he's died, and I swear to God, I have very seldom laughed that much in my life, because he was, when the match ended, he was flat on his back.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, he seeming like was resurrected by the match being over. He didn't seem as bad after that, right? They sent Shivani to the ring, and I was thinking, he ain't about to do a promo. He couldn't breathe, it looked like. He did the promo. He was sounding okay. So, I don't know, guys. Look, I don't know what this show's going to look like. I don't know how long the great Connor Casey is going to bless us with his presence. So we'll just get to the meat and potatoes of this thing, the headline. The Ric Flair match was one of the strangest things I've ever seen. I'm hesitant to be hyperbolic about this, Connor, because we knew what we were getting, right? Like, there's no point pretending this is like a surprise to us that Ric Flair is not physically able to do the things he once was. But, man, there are a couple moments, and this one comes to mind. The trembling on the knucks that was like, that was scary. Legitimately scary. That's about as bad as it got for me on a personal level, being uncomfortable. But your immediate reaction, and then we'll kind of piece it together as we go to what we just saw with Nate.
So what we got was kind of what I was expecting. Rick is obviously incredibly limited by what he can and can't do. You had 3 other guys in there who absolutely could go. Jarrett, I don't think enough is being said. Like, he was going blow for blow there with Andrade.
Mm-hmm.
The thing turns into a DBZ fight when you have Andrade in there with Lethal, because it's like, oh yeah, we're young and can do stuff 5 times faster than everybody else. And then when Rick gets in, it's like, okay, stall before he has to do chops again.
Yeah.
Like Jeff, I swear Jeff took. I don't know what was longer, Jeff's entrance or him debating whether or not to leave the match.
Jeff was.
He
was
was
art
doing the
tonight.
most, and you knew he was in his hometown. It was what it was, and you knew the finish was going to be a schmoz. You knew it was going to somehow. Rick wasn't going out on his back. We've done that.
Well,
he came pretty close to it, but I get you.
I mean, yeah, literally, yes, but you knew he wasn't going to lose this one.
Yes.
His son-in-law's booking it. His son-in-law got involved in the match directly.
Yeah.
So did his daughter, not the one I was expecting.
No.
And I saw a lot on Twitter where it was just like, what are we doing here? Like how did we get here? What is life right now where we're watching this?
I don't know. I had those same questions, man.
But call me a mark. But I interviewed the guy last month, and I asked him, what would this need to do to feel like a finale for you? Because we were on Pillar to Post earlier this week, and everyone's looking at me like, you're crazy. He's going to come back for more. This isn't the end. I believe that this is legitimately the end for him. I know people have their opinions about Rick. I do too.
Yeah.
But there was sincerity in him saying it just needs to be better than anything I did after the Shawn match. And if nothing else, the build for this.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And that's the part that I completely understand why people are uncomfortable with what they watched or disgusted, whatever the word is. I don't know. It's not what I personally was on the latter, but I was definitely uncomfortable a couple of times. But I will say this. If he truly got through tonight and he's okay, everyone that bought a ticket for it seemed to have a great time. Genuinely. They was having a blast from start to finish in the live crowd because they knew what they were getting and, let's say what you want about them, but they had a good time. And if nothing else, he seemed content afterwards that it was what he wanted it to be. And ultimately, it's like, I guess, who was he hurting in that regard, right? Other than maybe himself. I mean, sure, he hurt himself, but as long as he's not, as long as he's going to make it through tomorrow, I guess, is what I'm getting at here. It's like, I'm with you, man. I don't know. I think I don't want to kind of get too sentimental about the whole deal. But it definitely felt like it was that Rocky Balboa sentiment of, got some stuff left in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't about having a good match. And you mentioned the TNA stuff, and the key is not the match itself, right? As you mentioned, it was the fact that the way they presented this, they did try to give this as much majesty and dignity as you can to a 73-year-old man wrestling. I mean, they tried with what they had to give it like some pomp and circumstance. And I think they succeeded in some ways. It's just ultimately there's only so many ways you can package that particular product, right? Ultimately, it's for it getting in there and walking around.
At the end of the day, it's a match involving Jeff Jarrett in 2022. Unless you're Effie and this is a death match, I don't know how much mileage you're going to get.
Even that one's a pretty tough sell for me. But
I like the bit they did, like right before he signed with WWE, where Effie shows up at his house and says, "You think you can just walk away?"
Jeff was like, "Yes,
okay, this is working for me."
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk away. Shoot, please tell me, walk me through, because I didn't see a lot of Twitter during the match because I was, for better or worse, I was hooked. What was the live response to this? I saw one of your tweets and you seemed to be amused by the discourse.
I was genuinely, I don't think I've ever seen hate's not the right word because I don't feel like anyone hated it. But I didn't see anyone even like pretending it was good or like because usually you've got one or two people who, no matter what it is, are gonna decide that they like this. And Manny kind of did it. Shout out to Manny. But for the most part, it was mostly uncomfortable responses. Obviously, I didn't see it, but from everything I've been able to piece together, I think it was exactly what I would have expected it was going to be.
Right.
I didn't have any issue with him doing this or Conrad doing this, or I didn't have any interest in it personally. I specifically went out of my way to not watch that video that you kept putting over because I was afraid of what would happen if I watched it. So I just didn't watch it. I'm glad I didn't. So I'm glad he's okay, as best we can tell right now.
Yes, indeed.
Hopefully that stays that way. And we don't need to do this again. But I'm not one of the people who's like angry that he did this. He's a grown man. Like,
yeah.
Well, and Joe, credit to Conrad and them for this.
I agree.
Because while the crowd, maybe it wasn't mic'd well, I've heard some of that, but while the crowd didn't seem that interested in the rest of the card, I mean, name me another show where you have basically every major promotion in the world represented in some shape or form, and a lot of them got to shine. Like AAA looks great coming out of this. Impact looks great coming out of this. I want to see Matt Cardona versus Josh Alexander now. I know we can't, but hell, if that's your Bound for Glory program,
Jacob Fatu looked killer tonight, didn't he? Jacob Fatu had a statement performance tonight.
I was looking at him like, okay, what is legitimately stopping you from walking to WWE right now? Because I know it's not an MLW contract. Like, what is it?
I think there are some real things, unfortunately.
In the bloodline. What are we waiting for?
He's a great talent. I just think there's some stuff with Jacob Fatu that is unfortunately going to.
Well, I don't know.
No, a lot of people don't, but I think him signing a 5-year MLW deal was like, oh my God, it must be limited for him out there, But obviously, he's an amazing talent. He looked great tonight. So, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm also with you on the Conrad front. Like, I get why people want to frame him as a carny, and maybe it's fair, but let's be very, very real about this. Ric Flair was going to wrestle again. So you either do it like this and you give it some punch, or you let him do it in Saudi Arabia or some shit, and it's, much, much worse than this was, quite frankly. I think this was probably the best you could pull it off, and I think Conrad knew he was going to wrestle regardless. So let's try and do it in some style, and put him in there with guys that you can trust. I mean, Andrade was everything he did tonight was like 150%, right? We need to see him wrestle on TV more, guys. He's unbelievable, isn't he?
Oh, 1,000%. And you knew he had to compensate for Rick.
Yes.
And you could see that every time he tagged in.
Yeah, absolutely. He was wrestling with a certain desperation to make sure that it worked as a match, And I think, look, whether it did or didn't, I don't know. People will be divided on that. I'm not even sure of my own answer at this point. I'm still not quite sure what I watched, but it would have been a whole lot worse if Andrade wasn't in there, is the point, right?
Right.
Incredible pro wrestler. So it was quite the deal. You mentioned the crowd. It was really interesting. Now, shoot, again, I know you didn't see the show, but you saw the lineup. Are you surprised by us telling you that, it honestly felt like they didn't care about anyone other than the main event match? They didn't even really care about Andrade beyond just his team with Ric Flair, right? It was a Flair show, man. I know it sounds silly. Of course it was a Flair show, but nowadays wrestling fans are so widespread. It felt like a different audience. Does that surprise you, just kind of on read, so to speak?
Not really, only because we don't really see wrestling shows marketed the way this wrestling show was marketed.
Sure.
This match was very much a one-match show.
Yeah.
It sounded like they got into the Luchadors.
They did, yeah.
Which rules. I saw someone in the chat earlier say something about the Von Erichs. I'm going to just continue my quest to never see them wrestle.
They got a lot of shine for going up against the Briscoes. I thought that thing was going to be a 4-minute route, and it wasn't.
I think it should have been.
No comment.
I don't know, bro. I don't know about those fellas.
I'm a big fan of the last Von Erich generation, and we'll leave it at that.
I don't know, but it was interesting. Connor, what's your thoughts? Was you surprised at all by the atmosphere, which was it reminded me of a boxing pay-per-view, man. They were there for the main event,
I saw that comparison a lot, where it was like, we're just waiting for the main event and the rest of this is filler. I was surprised because, Nashville's not a bad wrestling town. Right. We're not Memphis by any means, but that's Lawler. But, we have a GCW affiliate that works out of here. I imagine everyone who was here was still here from SummerSlam last night and all the StarCast hoopla. Walking through the airport, you could see a lot of wrestling shirts. So, I mean, I knew the crowd. I knew there were still plenty of people here that were traveling from elsewhere. Yeah, I have to think that it was marked up to the crowd wasn't mic'd correctly. That's a decent venue.
Yeah.
At the Municipal Auditorium, I really don't have an answer for that one.
There was definitely a moment where Jarrett was on the ramp and they took a different camera and like the sound immediately was louder and they went back to the hard cam and it went quiet again. And it's like, it was definitely a miking thing on some front. I think it was a mix of both kind of factors, right? The way it was promoted. Comrade has definitely tapped into like the wrestling fan who no longer cares about wrestling, which respect. That's the dream, brother. We're getting there. So you know, that's something for sure. But it was interesting. The pacing of the show. My God, there were 4 matches in 54 minutes on this show.
Dude, we had the main event before 9 p.m. As a man who lives in Central Time, that's unheard of.
That's the way it should be, brother. Wrestling's back. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me?
I think so, man. Fed's not dead, and wrestling is back.
That's the conclusion of the weekend. They packed so many matches in, and I was watching my brother, and he goes to me, Flair's going an hour. And I was like, oh, whatever you say, brother. He went, I mean, how long did he go? 20?
I haven't seen a match time yet. It felt like we were really stretching that one out for a minute.
Well, it felt like, I mean, it
okay,
felt like a 24 hour.
Okay, I'm looking at match times. Nothing went over 12 minutes besides Flair.
Respect.
They don't have the official Flair time.
Larry in the chat has said 24, which that sounds possible. It could have been 24.
I will not forgive them for only giving us 5 minutes of Gresham, Takeshita, Nick Wayne, and Alan Angels. That's
crazy.
That went 5 minutes.
That was 5 minutes. I remember watching it. That was really short. What the hell? And then I'm thinking, wait, I still haven't watched what Takeshita and Wayne did at Black Label. I haven't heard anything. That was one of the matches where I was like, how did you guys get that one? That's one of the best looking things on this weekend. So I haven't had a chance to watch that one yet. Hopefully that redeems what happened.
I have to say too, the stipulation they tacked onto this one was incredible. Where I don't know if it was announced before tonight.
Progress. I didn't even know.
They were like, the winner of this match will get a shot at Progress Wrestling. I said to my brother, I was like, so Takeshi's obviously winning. He's working here this month. And then Gresham won. I was like, well, I don't know. Maybe he just forced himself into a booking, brother. Respect it. I don't know. It was interesting. Legitimately,
I guess that stepping away from wrestling isn't really happening now. Like they even pointed that out on commentary. They were like, "Oh, he's got an uncertain future."
I gotta be honest, man. I know he's become divisive now, but I just think that guy's so good. You know, like even in tonight's match, he blew me away again.
He's been fantastic, and his criticism for like, hey, why can't the guy who's just great at wrestling? Why do we give that pass to white wrestlers but not black wrestlers? I'm like, he's got a great point.
Yeah, we've talked about the Grin before. I think that's a real thing, and I know like he got a lot of shit for that, which is unfortunate because he was asked. I mean, it was Monty and Beckham Hangman didn't interview my friends, but he was asked. You know, it wasn't like he just went out of his way on this kind of. And if he did, it wouldn't have been a problem. But yeah, I've said similar before. I think it's a real thing. He's fucking great. I hope whatever he does, man, whatever makes him happy. But I love watching that dude wrestle. Genuinely, I was really happy to see him look like locked in tonight. Nick Wayne, like I ain't breaking any news here, but good Lord, man, for his experience level and his age, he's going to be around for a long, long time, Connor.
Right? I don't know how informed you are on the music of T.I., but the song he came out to is slightly older than him. And that song's from 2006.
2006? Yeah. Well, that's made me feel bad now.
I know, because I was like, this was like an early high school bop for me. What the hell?
Did you respect that part of tonight's show? The fact that there was no like interest in just not using licensed music, it's just use it.
I was glad. Well, the music choices were interesting, and I'm like, wow, this really does feel indie when we're just like, hit me with your best shot for Rachel Ellery. I'm like, that's not how this works. And then Jarrett somehow bringing out his GCW and TNA music.
So, shoot, did you ever see Jeff's GCW entrance?
No.
You know, like
amazing.
Connor, how would you describe the sound from My World that they use? How would you describe that? You know the sound that
just
So when he came in GCW, they just like it kept repeating, and it had like this sort of dark edge to it, and he had like the outlaw gear on. So this time, it was playing for like 30 seconds with no one there, and it was like a graphic, and it kept coming up with his podcast logo and then fading, and then and it would come back and fade. And then the lights came on, and just his music hit, and his music starts with the exact same sound.
Yeah.
Just been playing. And let me tell you, Karen Jarrett was out there. She was, I mean, an incredible performance. The aforementioned exchange with, was it Megan? Connor, who did she say she was going to?
It was Conrad's wife. I'm not familiar with
Megan. I think it's Megan, right? I could be wrong. Chat, tell me. But whoever it was, that poor young lady was told by Karen that she's going to beat the fuck out of her, which is professional wrestling at its finest, if you ask me. Jeff Jarrett needs to be on TV in some form or fashion. Shoot, I know you hate this bit, but I'm actively mad at Tony Khan for not doing Eddie Kingston versus Jeff Jarrett on TBS. I don't know why we didn't do this. God. Can you imagine the heat in New York City?
It's fun. The funny thing is, Karen, when I first started watching TNA, it was when Kurt had all the belts. Like, I think one of the first episodes I watched was him somehow winning both tag belts.
Yeah.
And she was such an integral part of that presentation. And then that carried over to when she married Jeff. Mm-hmm. But we all kind of memory hole TNA from like anything post Unbreakable 2005 to basically now. We were just kind of like, it was mostly Hulk Hogan. Forget about it. But no, there was some really good stuff there in those late 2000s era. And she was a part of that.
She's a good heel, man. She's actually like really, she has a good feel for it, right? She loves being out there and being a heel. And Jeff, I mean, I don't think it was lost on Jeff, and I don't mean this is a dunk. This is just the way it is, right? But, like, I don't think it's lost on Jeff. That's probably the last time he's going to wrestle in front of a crowd like that, most likely, right? Or anything that matters. I mean, you might do, like, a spot as, you know, the singing Jeff Jarrett on Raw like he did with, you know, Elias a couple of years ago. But this was his chance to be the guy that he views himself as, which is this great heel. And, honestly, he kind of lived up to that perception, quite frankly.
Let me ask you this. Were you surprised by how little WWE representation there was, given Flair's relationship with Hunter?
I wasn't, because frankly, and this is going to sound grim, but it's what I honestly believe, I think there was genuine concerns about some of the elements of this event and how it would turn out. There was some discussion of the fact that, you know, if things went awry, everyone had blood on their hands. I think they wanted to minimize how much blood that was for them. Frankly, I mean, I don't blame them. I will say, when I think back to this event, as much as I think of some of the more kind of uncomfortable elements, it is one of the most striking visuals you'll ever see. Legends like that sit in the front row. I mean, that was something to see. I mean, Foley, I don't know if you saw this shoot, but Foley and Taker were in the front row.
I saw the pictures of Undertaker.
He didn't look like he was having a great time.
No.
He said in his one-man show he didn't want to be there. Like, he was
Connie.
Like, Fightful's got the quote. He said he didn't want to be there. So when he showed up, like, wait, what the hell?
Oh, brother. Connie must have made him an offer he couldn't refuse. You know what I mean? One of those dead man talking podcast deals. You know what I'm saying?
Isn't that happening? Are we still waiting for that to get rolling? Because I feel like that was confirmed at some point.
It feels like he doesn't announce podcasting where he just starts doing them. I don't see any sort of buzz about him where they just sort of get added to the library and away he goes, you know? Like,
right.
I guess he does Flair's podcast again. Is that a thing that happens now?
Yes, because the last guy was an idiot.
Oh, yeah. Is an idiot. Always will be.
What do I say? Is.
Yeah, dude's such a loser that he got fucking ratioed by me once. That's an art form in itself. Yeah, it was wild. And then when Brett showed up, I mean, I would give everything in my bank account to know Brett's response to that match. Because there's no way that Brett had Connor and I's kind of vaguely sympathetic, good for you, Rick take. I'm sure his take was a lot more stern.
Give it a few weeks, you'll find Brett's take on the match.
Oh, I am sure, and I cannot.
I hope Connor's the interview for that one.
No, I couldn't get Brett. He was. We were trying to get folks in the studio because I'm here in Nashville. Right? Mm-hmm. My studio's right over there. The Municipal Auditorium is back that way a couple blocks. Starcast is 10 minutes, and we were trying to get folks in the studio. Last I heard, we were in talks with a couple. I haven't followed up with the rest of my team yet, but Brett was definitely on our list, and I could not get any response representation. So
yeah, you sound a couple quotes there, bro.
Yeah.
He didn't answer us either.
Let me ask you this then, Joe. Do you think this would have done better if it was the original plan of FTR, the Rock and Roll Express, and Ricky?
Probably, yeah. I would say FTR is such a big deal now. They're honestly like that top guy's shtick is as real as it's ever been for them. They feel like an actual major act. So at this point, they would have added some appeal to it. But honestly, I think the crowd for this was what it was, man. I think the crowd for this was just kind of people that love Ric Flair and like they chanted, "You still got it," after he did like one fucking headlock takeover. Like they were just ready to try and enjoy it and have fun, and they did. So God bless them. I do have to ask Connor Casey. Did I imagine it, or did you tweet that you were at some form of WWF basketball event with Drew McIntyre and Alexa Bliss? Did I imagine this?
So what happened was they've been trying to do some more stuff with Special Olympics. And what they did on Thursday was they brought in, who was it? Drew, Alexa, Sarah Schreiber, Nikki Ash, and Tommaso. And they had them as coaches for the different Special Olympics basketball teams. And so this is legit. We have footage of this, and the interview will be up soon. The very first game ended in a tie. So they brought out the two coaches to do a free throw contest. And so Nikki's, I could tell, hadn't really played much basketball, so she's struggling. Ciampa gets up there. I mean, he's stepping on, like, he's doing the perfect dribble to set it up, airballs it. Like, perfect arc, but completely short. And he must have missed at least 3 or 4 more shots before Nikki was basically handed like a layup and won. So one of the first things I asked Ciampa the next day, media days, is I'm like, man, we got to work on your free throws. He's like, dude, I haven't played basketball in like 10 years.
I have to say, I love Nikki, but of all the profiles to lose in any form of basketball too, the 5-foot Scottish woman is one. I mean, there ain't much basketball in Scotland, let alone for poor Nikki, who's rather short, but that rules, man.
That's quite the list of potential basketball backgrounds there.
I don't think Alexa's coming for it in the post, So there you go. Well, maybe Drew and Titus can give you something, but I don't know about the rest of the group. Maybe Ciampa too can't, based on what you tell me. So that was something. I have seen this. There's a photo going around of tonight's show stealers for Luchadors with The Undertaker, which is an amazing thought how much he hated that match while the crowd was going wild for it, of course. Shoot, are you surprised that a wrestling crowd did not get mad at the lack of selling in the match and instead enjoyed it? It's almost like that stuff is all, just in our own heads and we make it up about the casual fan. What do you think? Are you surprised by this? They actually enjoyed the match, all the spots, shoot. Craziness.
You're not trapping me like that. Next.
It just like there's this idea that those kind of matches are off-putting for that don't watch like modern wrestling.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous.
It's so choreographed.
Yeah.
It's always the opposite. Crowds love that stuff. It's moves. It looks amazing. Ray Phoenix. I mean, everyone in that match. Bandito. Black Taurusini saved his life at one point, but the rest of the match, Bandito was unbelievable. Ray Phoenix is obviously about as spectacular as it gets nowadays. So,
what is the holdup on Bandito? Because it felt like when he main evented All In, it felt like, okay, he's going to be one of the first to get picked up by Tony or WWE. Then it didn't happen. He signed with Ring of Honor to kind of bolster that as it was on its decline, and now we're all just kind of waiting.
It's bizarre. I mean, and it's not like Tony hasn't seen him. He worked Supercard, right?
Yeah, he looked great there too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's and honestly, I feel like he had something different just by how good he is at the style.
Mm-hmm. The perfect example of the thing we were talking about. Because, my wife, who I go to, is the example of the casual fan, even though it's not fair to her because she watches way too much wrestling to call her that. But, like, we talk about the holes in Dante Martin's game. She thinks he should be world champion.
Yeah, so exactly. It's all like we operate on a playbook that we've, like, imagined works for casual fans, and those fans aren't even real. It's just, like, the way we explain it to ourselves.
I'm just thinking, put him in a suit, keep the mask, like, keep everything from here up the same. Put him in a suit. Put him in the in Rush and Andrade's new thing that they're doing on AEW, and just have fun with it.
Yeah, man.
Make him an evil Phoenix.
I agree, but I even think like bare minimum he should be a Ring of Honor top guy, right? Like that was what he was before. It feels like a natural fit. I mean, Ring of Honor's going to need. You can see the top end of the card, but you're going to need some guys to fill out your like main event pack, and he would be one that would add some variety to that group. So I don't know. It's very, very strange.
The chat's saying Bandito. It's the interest. The lack of interest is on Bandito's side, not AEW's.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some of that earlier, but it's like I saw him talking about Impact, and I'm not trying to dismiss Impact Wrestling, but it's very seldom that a wrestler goes, Tony, no room for me there, Chief. I'm off to the Impact Zone. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's not.
Maybe he just doesn't want to be under contract.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do think that's where Gresham winds up.
Oh yeah, I think Gresham will do. I think Gresham will do Impact as well as like New Japan Strong, and he'll hope. I think his hope will be that he kind of connects in a way with New Japan Strong and that crew again, where he can actually go over. Because I really think he can be like a genuine junior heavyweight, contender in mainstream line New Japan. So there's place for him to be, man. It's a matter of like.
Does he get a call from Paul, or are we thinking too crazy for the future of the Fed?
That is so interesting.
Like that's not a. So here's an interesting tangent. I'm watching the live tryouts on Friday. Like the stuff that they opened for the public was basically just promo class, where they brought people up in groups of 5 and had them try to do like a Survivor Series style promo where they're hyping up their team and tearing down the other one. And I'm looking at the guys and girls that are coming up, and I'm thinking, okay, you're obviously like a Vince guy or a Vince girl based on what I know your preference is.
Yeah.
But he's not in the equation anymore, so I have to change my thinking into, okay, well, what does a Hunter guy or gal look like? And I can't give you an answer when his promotion, when the thing he ran had Adam Cole and Karrion Kross both as your world champions.
Yeah. And that cross part is so interesting because there's definitely a belief among wrestling fake scoops to circles, shout out Bob O'Neill, that he kind of lost interest in Kross at some point. And I don't know if that's true. The booking didn't really reflect it because he beat like the 4 top guys before he left. Other than Joe, obviously, but that was right at the end. Mm-hmm. We'll find out pretty soon because if he didn't lose interest, he'll be back. Let's be real. Like he's not got anything else kind of waiting for him. So in that sense, it's interesting. As for who his type of wrestler is, I think his biggest strength as a booker is he does not have overly strong bias in one way or another. He's pretty open-minded act for act. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a genius big booker by any means, but I just think he kind of gets out of his own way in a way that we're not used to in WWE. Now, as far as Gresham, I don't know what that looks like, I mean, he's a fabulous wrestler, but do you have him as an NXT full-time guy? What do you do with him on the main roster?
Think of what NXT looks like right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
And ask yourself, where does he fit into the horse lawyer? And I don't watch this show weekly, so all my examples are just coming from Fightful's recap show. So it's like the adult film secretary lady. I'm like, I don't know. But I know that's a gimmick right now. And I know that Giovanni Vinci or whatever his name is, I hear he's doing well. They just brought Apollo back down there, and he seems to be fitting in. But it's kind of like if you put him in there and you have him stand next to Braun Breaker, it's still a problem. So I don't unless you want to go the full, he's a sawed-off monster and he's this generation's Taz, and we're going to present him as such.
I honestly think it's more likely that he's presented as a literal octopus than him being this generation's Taz in WWE. They couldn't figure out last generation's Taz, so
he could be this generation's Taz in WWE.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
First, he needs to beat this generation's Kurt Angle, who my pick is Josh Alexander. That doesn't work. It's not the right company.
Yeah, you need maybe you can be like Gable in 30 seconds at a pay-per-view or something, That match. Do you imagine Chad Gable, Jonathan Gresham? Good Lord.
It would slap, but they wouldn't give it enough time because especially if this were still Vince running it, he'd be like, it's like, John, you're shorter than the guy we called Shorty G.
It'd be tough. The one thing that I think will be different with Triple H, though,
is witty. I love it.
I do think he's going to I think he's more open to signing guys for a role than Vince ever was. Yes. I think I could 100% see a world in which they want a team specifically. They've got a guy they want a partner for him, and Gresham's name comes up. So let's give Gresham a shot. Whereas Vince, I think, signs guys, like his team would sign guys first, and it's like, what do we find for them to do? Which is not really how wrestling should work in any way, shape, or form. It should be more, we need this, let's go and sign a guy who can do that, you know? So I think Dakota Kai is kind of an example of that. In some ways, it's different, right? Because
you know, what I'm trying to figure out though with this next wave of talent is they're still doing the whole NIL college athlete signing. All of the people that were at the tryout this weekend all had some sort of collegiate sports background. I know we're either fresh out of college or a couple of years removed, but that was what got them in the door there. It wasn't, oh, I've been working the indies for 6 years and I know my stuff. So, and then you turn around and sign Dakota Kai right back. And it's like, okay, where are we going next with our recruiting here? Are we going to try and get the indie guys again and mix them in with our white bread college recruits, or what?
I think what you're going to see is was you at the Supercard Presser, Connor, by any chance, to post the scrum they did at Supercard? I was. Well, I wanted to ask before I quoted something to you as though you wasn't in the room. That would have been disrespectful. So
no, I was there.
You may recall there was a great Joe quote where he was like, if the well is empty, you need to start digging elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not here to dismiss the current indie space, but I think the belief may be that for now it's thinner than you'd like.
Yeah.
So let's keep focusing on making homegrown guys, and we'll get aggressive when guys' contracts come up, you know, and it will kind of unfold over the next few years. That's my guess.
So let me play off that for a second, because the other quote that everybody brings up, I know we are way off topic from the Ric Flair show, but
this is the late night Grin, Connor.
Yeah. Here we are. So the quote that everybody brings up from Tony is him, and I was at this presser too. It was when he was comparing, okay, which NXT do you like better? And then everybody was like, oh, black and gold. It's like, okay, but which one is more conducive to the main roster product? You go, well, 2.0, unfortunately. And he was like, that's why I supported the turn. And my issue with that has always been, you can make your show more sports entertaining, and you can have it feel like it's more akin to a AAA ball to Raw and SmackDown being the majors. What you didn't have to suddenly add into the equation was, we need every big match to be a DQ or a count out or a run-in.
Right.
The goofy backstage segments. Every woman's character now is, I'm hot, and also I have this other shtick. So we were diving back into the Divas era for reasons that I'm not comfortable with. All those things got added into a product when you were just trying to make it more like Raw, and when you were trying to make it a better feeder system.
Right.
And I'm like, you could have done some of this. You could have had a bigger emphasis on your performance center guys and your Braun Breakers of the world. I'd be fine with that. But you didn't have to take the quality of the show and throw it down a staircase at the same time.
Absolutely. I have my personal read on it, and this is just my opinion. I have no sources in the matter, but I have got the sense that there were some people that were having some fun with that brand. To be totally transparent, I think there were some old heads that really enjoyed the idea of trying to mess with Triple H's baby, so to speak, and wanted to do things they know he wouldn't mess with. And look, we can talk about Triple H's booking all day long. It was flawed. The one thing we can all agree on, he generally is one of the better wrestling bookers we've seen in America in terms of representing the women in a way that's befitting, and we've actually treated them as main event acts. I mean, the women in NXT was always such a big part of the show. And to me anyway, and this is again just guesswork, I got the sense there were some people that were having a lot of fun taking it back into the olden days, so to speak, and kind of messing around with that. The question becomes, and I'm intrigued on your reading this, I know you don't watch the show, but I'm interested how you feel about it. If, as Connor said, they were doing it for the main roster. Now, if the main roster changes and gets rid of some of those factors that we talk about, what is an NXT in a world where black and gold NXT is playing out on Monday and Friday instead of being the alternative? What do you think?
Well, I mean, the big thing that I've always believed Triple H when he said that he would never book the main roster like he did NXT.
Yeah.
I do think you're going to see elements of it. I think you'll see NXT 2.0 slowly transform as well. I mean, I think the answer to what we're talking about lies somewhere in the middle. Because I'm pretty sure, again, I'm not plugged in on WWE at all, but the impression I got was the NIL thing was Triple H's idea, right? Like that was his concept.
It was framed that way publicly, certainly.
Yeah.
I think,
so if nothing else was framed, we don't know if it actually was, but
right, absolutely.
So I think we will see him bring in more indie talent, but you're still going to see the continuation of trying to develop their own talent and excuse me, people that aren't don't have that background. And then, of course, I think you are going to see them start to sign people from AEW, which obviously is going to change things some. And, some of those guys and girls may skip NXT completely. So it's going to be kind of a combination of everything, which is kind of the cop-out answer, but I think that's actually the truth. Like, I think it's going to be I said today, I don't think we truly know what Triple H is going to look like as the main roster guy. We know for sure that his floor is higher than Vince McMahon's. We're not going to see, again, personally, I don't really care because I don't follow their product. But if you're a fan of WWE, and you've made this point, Joe, if you're a fan of a specific talent, you're probably not going to have to worry about him just burying them anymore. That's probably not going to be a thing. The way he'll bury them is they just won't be on TV anymore. Kind of like, the way most companies do things, they'll just phase them out. It won't embarrass them on television.
That's how AEW does it at this point.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and that's how you should do it. That's people can get frustrated, and I get it. If you're a fan of a specific talent and they don't have anything for them, that sucks. Fully understand it. That's exactly how you don't have a spot for everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes you bring someone in and you're actually really high on them, and you may not even think they're that they're bad. They just didn't fill the spot that you were hoping they were going to fill, and you don't have anything else for them. That's just the way it works. So if nothing, I think the biggest change that we're going to see is the companies are just going to be run a little bit more similarly. For me, who is pretty much, AEW's my favorite promotion, that aspect of it is disappointing to me personally. I can't pretend otherwise, because I was like, anyone who's really good on the indies, AEW is probably going to get them. That was the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case anymore. That'll start to change. So just like you'll start to see, I think we were going to see people leave anyway, but that may be a little bit more ramped up now.
There's a safety net. Yeah.
Yes.
I think there's a faith that Triple H won't obliterate you in the way Vince can and has previously to guys. It's certainly, it's going to be interesting. I don't know, Connor. Whenever you need to depart, pal, just tell us. I don't want to keep you here all night.
I'll just say this. I think the idea that the mass exodus from AEW is going to happen, I think it's not going to be as severe as people believe.
Oh yeah, I agree.
There's the general inertia of you stick with the same company when they're offering you a re-up contract. There's also the matter of the road. There's just you're not nearly as as pulled so thin by being on the road 300 days of the year as opposed to 50.
Right.
You're just not, especially if the money's comparable.
Absolutely.
It's not unlike the position I'm sure you guys remember this probably a little bit later than this time last year when people were kind of predicting a mass exodus from WWE that never happened outside of the people who left because it wasn't their choice.
Yeah.
There's not going to be some massive turnover. It definitely, I'm geared. WWE is certainly more appealing to some people now than it was a week ago. There's no question about that.
Yeah. And I think ultimately wrestling will be better for that. Also, to your point, Connor, about schedule, Cody's the best example. Cody wrestled as many matches in his 2 months in WWE as he did in the whole AEW run. I mean, it's just a different.
And he's fine with that. His arm looks like Grimace as a result, but he's just fine with that. Some folks are going to be like, look, I like being able to spend time at home for a good chunk of the week, as opposed to, I get 36 hours and then I'm back in the car.
I think Cody's one of those guys that I think he enjoys the romantic element of that, right? He enjoys the romantic, hitting the towns and working the same guy. And hey, listen, that pops me too, so I respect it. But I think some of the guys are like, fuck that romanticism.
But honestly, I hope that's the thing Hunter looks at and he goes, I mean, how many financial reports have you seen Brandon Thurston go over where he's like, yeah, house shows aren't money makers.
It's bizarre.
No one's showing up to the 5th different show you're doing in Arkansas this week.
Have they ramped it way back up? Because I know there for a while they were only running like 2 weekends. Are they like pretty much full time again now?
Speed ahead. I haven't.
Because the brand split shows are mostly bad. There's some weekends they'll do the super shows, but for the most part, it's like, if you look at some of those cards, man, like they're thin and they're running. Apparently, they're doing. I've been told the last couple months they've been up in a way that surprised people, even internally. Was like, oh man, what's going on here? Because they don't have Roman or Cody, but obviously they got some buzz through things that I'd rather they not get buzz through. But that's what you get. But the SmackDown shows, I mean, there was one. I want to say Ridge Holland main event at the SmackDown house show with Drew. I think that happened. So it really is. It's an interesting time. I agree with you. I think
all you're doing there is just putting mileage on guys and taking more, punches out of their bump card. Whereas with AEW, it's like guys are getting hurt because they're doing crazy stuff, not because they're dead from their 10th match in 5 days.
Yeah, it's interesting. But on the other hand, I'm a big proponent of like, while I don't want a guy like Drew McIntyre out there getting the shit kicked out of him in street fights every weekend, on the AEW side, man, I wish that a guy like Powerhouse Hobbs, I would love for him to work 15 minutes with Eddie Kingston every weekend on the house show loop, and it's like, it's finding the balance between those. I find
that's what the freedom of the indies is for. Like Eddie works every weekend because he wants to.
You're right. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You're correct. I find it fascinating that, and this is why Triple H is an interesting addition to the landscape, is like, to me, for the last year, WWE and AEW have been two extremes, and there's no middle ground between. Like, one does 100 minutes of recaps every show, the other one does no recaps. One does, it's like, it's been kind of bizarre to watch that happen. So maybe it will get more in the middle with Triple H at the helm. We shall see. Connor, is there anything else you'd like to about on the Ric Flair show? Because that was a thing we were talking about once.
It was. It really was. That's about it for me. I never need, like I said, I buy that it's his last match.
Yeah.
I don't think Jim Crockett Promotions is popping up at every StarCast for another show. I don't think, from the way Conrad talked, he did not seem interested in doing another show. He was like, I'm doing this for Rick, and that's why I'm going to jump through all these hoops with 30 different companies. Like, I think this was a one-time deal, and, everybody can go off in their direction. I think certain companies look much better than others. I think Impact looks great coming out of this. They had probably the heaviest presence. And I think as even the pre-match promos, you could tell theirs were in-house, and the rest was kind of we've cobbled this together. But with Impact, it was we're trying to tell something with Alexander and Fatu and Jordan Grace's title defense, and I'm like, more power to you for that one.
Yeah.
Although I was thrown off by the non-canon reunion of the Wolves because I was just at Slammiversary and I went, wait, Davey was on the Impact team. Why are they back together?
Brother, let me tell you something. I don't care how many ads Conrad jams in that podcast. He really booked the American Wolves versus Motor City Machine Guns to open up the Ric Flair last match show. And let me tell you, I'll respect him forever for that, brother. He's got my respect.
Good
stuff.
I think this was it was a one-time bizarro world occurrence, and we've made it to the other side with nobody coming away with severe injuries. Thank God. So
yes, and hopefully by the time we upload this to YouTube, hopefully nothing's changed on that front, right? Hopefully Rick is truly okay. He looks like he'd begun to settle. So I'm like, Connor, promote yourself, pal. You do a lot of fabulous work, and as I've often said about you, you are very understated, incredibly humble, one of the nicest fellas in this space. You will not see Connor filling your feed with these sort of scandalous remarks. You notice when I even say things that are mean about wrestlers, Connor says, well, hold on a second. You don't need to go that far, So, Connor, please promote yourself.
I was defending last night's Roman Brock match against Kate by just saying, but Kate had a tractor. They lifted the ring and everything.
Bro, I'm on your side on that match. I thought it ruled. So
I'm like, hey, I've hated the first 6 of these, so good on you for giving me one I enjoyed.
Oh, it was a good time.
So yeah, you can find all my comicbook.com. I run the wrestling section over there. We've got a great team going right now. We just hired Liam Crowley, who's been he's hit the ground running, helping us a lot with stuff over there. We've got a bunch of interviews. that we did with the WWE Media Days, StarCast. I had a team running out there while I was doing my craziness in Chicago. And all those are going to be coming out here in the next week or so. Follow me on Twitter at ConnorCaseyCB. I'm just on the precipice of 2,000 followers. Like,
Come on, guys.
1993, which is my birth year.
Well,
good on me for that. But I need 7 more guys. Help a brother out. I sincerely appreciate it. I've got some stuff working on right now in the wrestling world itself, outside of just covering it.
Yeah.
I can't say too much at the moment, but we're working on stuff. Just, stay tuned. Check out my Twitter page. Check out FXC Wrestling on Twitter as well. And yeah, you can catch my usual ramblings on there. I'm already getting notifications. I love you guys. I appreciate it.
There you go.
That was
I would
me.
like to say,
I didn't realize I didn't follow you. So
there you go. Thanks.
I will say that, you can't speak on what's coming up, Connor, but I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart, congratulations. I think you're going to kill it as MLW head booker. If you could just give me a call at some point, I think I could do a hell of a job as Fatto's manager. But again,
I'm going to have Hammerstone come after you, man. You're not going to like it.
I'm out of it. I've said some things about him on podcasts. Okay, Connor, have a wonderful evening, pal. It's always
bless
great
you
to talk
both.
to you, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Speak soon, pal. Bye.
Well, that was fun.
What a lovely fella, huh?
He's
just
so.
a wonderful, wonderful guy. He's
Let me fix this awful display we've got going on right now.
Yeah, look at this
Ludicrous display.
He always pops me because he's one of those guys you can learn a lot from, because he's actually doing an awful lot. And he comes in here and he goes, "Hey guys, he gets to 2,000 followers," and it's like, fucking dude's like. He was out there watching Lexi Allcaps coach basketball. He's doing the damn thing. But there's something to be said for it. I have great admiration for him. Everyone, please go follow Connor at Connor Casey CB. We're going to hang out a little bit longer. Oh, I'm going to shoot. I don't know if you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The
Flair match currently has a 5.29 rating on Cage Match.
Do you think some matches you shouldn't be allowed to rate? Like, just let it be. You know what I mean?
All of them.
That was good shit. All right, fair. What I want to do here is I want to quickly put a bow on the Flair business. So I want to do that, and then if you would mind, confirm shoot. I think we should talk a little Music City Mayhem, just loosely, broad stroke, because you both watched it last night. Look at this. Manny has come up with a way to put value on wrestlers for our trade machine.
Oh, God bless.
We hijacked. Poor Monty was trying to do a Dynamite preview, and he went, "Okay, guys, you talk while he was moving." Like, he put his camera off, and he came back, and I was sitting there asking him what Impact's offer is for MJF. I think Manny said that he was willing to take Laredo Kid and Speedball, and he's like, "Call it in."
Yeah.
Which is good shit.
They need Speedball.
He's a great, great talent, man. I'm intrigued how high he gets on that roster, because his buzz would suggest he could be the world champ.
Yeah. There
are some limitations to the Speedball that would concern me on that front, personally.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I heard it too.
That's like my instinctual reaction. Of course you saw it, but I'm still going to say that anyway. Yeah, my Adrian got really excited when she saw Speedball was an Impact. She's like, "We should start watching that." I was like, "Well, hold on."
Yeah.
It ain't gonna be the Speedball you saw.
To be fair, I think he has good matches. It's just they're a really weird promotion. They do traditional TV, but it's still mostly just like a lineup of matches.
Yeah.
It's like event-based TV, but without the event element, because it's not like any atmosphere or kind of.
That's the biggest thing for me. If they presented it differently, I might give it a chance. But anytime I've turned it on, I'm like, I can't watch this.
Tonight's presentation actually would have popped you in that regard. I mean, it's issues.
Some of the pictures I saw were just like
look great, man.
Take really good about Crockett and Shivani and how this could have been. This is an alternate timeline.
Yeah, man. Crockett's just. He honestly seemed bored.
That rules.
And then the Lucha match happened, and he was popping huge. And when he saw Mark Briscoe, fabulous. The best moment of the night for Crockett perspective was Andrade tags into the main event, plays cheers. Shivani's one of the toughest men I've ever worked with. And David Crockett goes, I've never seen him wrestle. Here we go. In the main event of this major pay-per-view that Crockett's on the call for. Just saving it for the light, brother.
He called Elevation a match or two one time, and I was just like, just keep him here. He's Eddie, not good, right? But he fucking rules.
Yeah, he was never good. And that's the charm of him, right?
Exactly.
Remember Eddie's pop when he was there? Eddie was so excited.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So just to put kind of some loose thoughts on anyone that clicks on this tomorrow on YouTube and goes, oh, they reviewed the show, and then gets 30 minutes of us talk. I enjoy those broads. Connor and I always go in that direction. I think, as you said, shit, that's very much that belongs on this platform, right? That's
what we do.
Motor Machine Guns and the Wolves was not anything particularly special, but it was a very solid pro wrestling match between four pros. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Cross and Davey was not particularly good. Shocker, I know. Davey is. I would say he's washed, but I don't even know if that's the right term, because I don't think he was ever particularly good. But he's I think he's really lost his way as a
Davey
worker.
Richards?
No. Davey Boy Smith Jr. Confirmed sheet. Cross had Scarlett with him.
The best part is I didn't even do that on purpose.
Oh, I know. The Four Corners match got 5 minutes, was a hell of a sprint, I must say. It was good. It was very entertaining, even if it deserved way more time. Takeshita did his famed hit both ropes and do the big Undertaker clothesline spot, and it got over great. Brian Pillman Jr. Bro, he had when Pillman was in the Horsemen and he had the long tights.
Yeah,
he had those on, and fucking oh wow, the chat actually, I must have really misspoken there regarding Davey, because everyone's on your side on this. So anyway, he had the long tights on, the Horseman style. He had sunglasses and a leather jacket, and he was being a heel, and he was not totally shit. He was mediocre.
I feel like that's something he could explore more in Impact.
How sad is it that Brian Pillman Jr. and Brock Anderson were named as the Four Horsemen here?
Wait, really?
It was Four Horsemen versus Rock and Roll. It was Kerry and Ricky versus that team. It's so weird. It's such a weird match.
The world, brother.
My God.
It's the USFL championship hat.
Is that what you're going to come out to when, when we do our live show? We get big entrances. You go out to We Are the Champions.
I got to think about that some more.
Yeah, fair. Run this town. The Lucha 4A was tremendous. They went 12 minutes and definitely went over their time, which is the way it should be done. Josh Alexander and Jacob Fatu was an incredible offensive showcase. Bro, Fatu did his handstand, springboard fucking moonsault. He did the deal. No, I don't know the name of any of these moves. You know the deal where Jungle Boy does it, where he drops on the top rope?
Oh, yeah.
And springs off.
Yeah.
He did that for a moonsault. Crockett was popping huge, and he just kept saying 300 pounds over and over again, which was popping me. And at about 4 minutes, I said to my brother, there's no fucking way Jacob Fatu's losing this match. So no yob, no contest finish. Cardona and Myers got involved. God bless them. This is true. Tarust actually, he did
I saw that. Yeah.
That was very scary. The Briscoes tried. Boy, did they try. They are as bad as it gets, brother. I honestly respect how bad, though, because I think it's almost impressive to be going as long as they've been, not get better.
I genuinely haven't seen them. I'm going to keep it that way.
They're terrible. The Briscoes tried their best. They came out to Skinner to pop me. Pop David Crockett. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Jordan, Deanna, and Rachel actually fought a pretty nice match. The crowd, you'll be surprised to know they did not care about women's wrestling very much. It was actually pretty uncomfortable how little they cared. I thought the work was good. I like all three women. You get what you get, I suppose. And the main event, which apparently clocked in at 27 minutes.
Good Lord. How long did it feel, Joe?
A couple of hours.
Yeah.
There was one amazing moment where Flair got in and was like... So I actually think he was really nervous. Which kind of took a lot of the... For some wrestlers, that would give a certain charm to it because it's human. That I actually thought hurt the spectacle in some ways, because until we're halfway through, Flair started adding some of his, some of his mannerisms and started doing some of his business. For the first half, he was like stoic, bro. I think he was terrified, to be totally honest. I think he had one of those like, oh my God, this is really happening moments.
Yeah.
Because he was not, like, look, Flair's obviously can't do anything physically, but on TV, he's always been mostly still Ric Flair. Like, he'll still be over the top and ridiculous and colorful. And he wasn't that way at all for the first stretch of the match. And it was really weird vibes. Like, he was just standing dead still in the middle of the ring. There was one point when he was waiting to feed a hot tag, and he was like breathing in a way that genuinely was concerning. Yes,
from what I'm piecing together,
yes,
this tag match was not unlike when we do the late night Grin, and Flair was Bobby.
Yeah. So he's waiting to feed this hot tag. This is the real pop, though, right? So he's exhausted, and he's waiting to feed a hot tag. So you think he needs all the seconds he can get, right? Andrade turns, he's in the middle of the ring, and Rick just gets in the ring. Doesn't tag, just gets in and makes his hot tag.
Oh, that rules.
And he's throwing chops unlike, I mean, it was unfathomable, the chops he's throwing. They were not chops. They were like, these arms were barely moving. Genuinely, it isn't a good match by any means, obviously. But, like, my take is the one that Connor and I kind of both shared earlier, which is I honestly have no problem with it. It was very clear what you were getting if you bought it or you bought a ticket to it. The crowd had a great time. I think it actually means something to him on a personal level to just fucking get out of his system, whatever that means, right? And look, let's be honest, the fact he needs to get out of his system is definitely indicative of much greater problems within the man's life. But I ain't here, that ain't my place to judge him on that front. It is what it is. After the match, he appeared to be genuinely content and relieved and happy with the whole thing. So they didn't fool anyone. As long as he's alive this time tomorrow, good luck to the fella, I guess, right? I guess that's the best way of trying to put a bow on it. I don't know. Shoot, any final thoughts for a show you did not watch?
I was very adamant that I wasn't going to watch this show. The one Flair promo before they'd announced the match, that you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Where you were terrified to send it to me because you were afraid you were going to get dunked on. And then I just agreed with you. There was just no way that I could watch this match. I'm not, I don't mean that in a way that I'm judging anyone who did. So it's like I said earlier, I have no problem with them doing this, but it's not something I could have been a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was something, man. It really was.
I'm glad it's over with. I say this without being, this is going to sound worse than I mean it, but I'm tired of hearing about it, so I'm glad it's over with.
That's fair. Especially because it didn't end in any sort of great,
right,
tragedy. The final act of the match was legitimately scary. I don't want to understate that. At one point, Andrade tagged Rick, and Rick was on his back on the apron and could not get up. I sincerely do hope dude's okay, because there was no reason for the match to be 27 minutes long. Obviously, What the fuck? It's what it is. Andrade looked great. Jeff should be very proud of his night's work. I thought he looked very fresh in there. He can definitely still wrestle at a decent level, which is, I think, I'm not doing a bit here, I think is a good, if he wants to do it, I think he can be a useful piece of business for indie promotions, because, frankly, he's one of the only wrestlers left in for a punch. I would like someone to put the Takeshita match, so Shoot and I can do a Grin along for that. Jeff Jarrett versus Takeshita.
Down to 4.67 on Cage Match.
Yeah, well, it's what it is. Like, this Paul brings it up, and I said it earlier, but like Andrade had the brass knucks to try to give him a flare in his hand, was like shaking, and Rick was just screaming, "Come on, stand up!" If you edit it a certain way, it'd probably be pretty cool as like a cinematic piece, But
yeah,
I'm sure it's fine. Anyway, this was, bro. I understand the man's old, but you got to shoot around some stuff. I don't need to see his arms doing that shit, man. That was not a good look. Shout out to Magic Man, as well as Sleepy Duke and Raval. I've definitely fucked those names up, but they all followed. Also, Ben. Ben is just He's going off on the gift subs gimmick. He gave out 5 subs 8 minutes ago. If you're one of those folks, please do thank Ben, a great grinner, and he's given you a sub. Thank him if you're one of those 5. We appreciate you, Ben. It helps us greatly. All right. That puts a bow on a very unique show. Let's talk a little Music City Mayhem, shoot. This feels like a nice way to kind of conclude our business. This was a good show. One that, even though I knew where it was and I know what that building looks like, I wasn't quite ready for what it would look like, considering the glossy, branding and the John Moxley featuring. But obviously, Moxley don't give a fuck what the place looks like. Was you caught off guard when this thing came? I mean, I knew where it was, but I was like, oh my God, it looks like that. Wow.
No, it popped me huge.
But I'm not saying in a bad way, but was you ready for it?
No, I lived in Nashville, so I kind of knew. I haven't been to this building, but I was somewhat familiar with it. I actually thought it looked really cool. I'm so used to Moxley and AEW, though, that like all I was thinking the whole show was like he should come up on that balcony and come down the stairs for his entrance. I literally spent the whole show like imagining that in my head, forgetting that he doesn't use Wild Thing in New Japan. And
he does do the crowd walk usually, though.
Yeah, he didn't hear. There wasn't really anywhere to do it. But I did pop huge when, well, first of all, for those of you who didn't experience this show, the first 4 minutes of this show were the fight, no signal from the building graphic, which I was slightly concerned about. Then I literally to the point where I was like checking Twitter and making sure that like my thing wasn't broken. It's like, okay, good. No one can see it. Yeah. And then the audio was off for the first match, which I think I just needed to restart the stream. But
that wasn't a problem for me.
Yeah. But I will say this is a good, like, I couldn't do a formal review of this show because it's definitely the type of show that I didn't watch super closely. Like I was hanging out with Adrian and on my phone and but, I'm really enjoying New Japan USA. I think you guys talked about Gresham earlier. I think he's a perfect fit there.
Yeah,
like alarmingly so. How perfect of a fit he is for that.
Done stuff previously too. Yeah, absolutely.
He should go there. I would actually really like him there. I was kind of in the middle, like, I was doing the jokes at first about how short he is. I don't know if you'd heard about that. And then I saw, like, I genuinely, not even this part isn't a bit. I thought Bandito should have won at Supercard of Honor, not knowing any of like the backstage or any of that stuff. Just like as a fan watching the match, I was like, I like Bandito a lot more. Genuine, like that's just my genuine take. But Gresham, I actually was coming around on him. He's a better promo than I expected. So I would be really interested to see him here. I hope it happens. Like I said, he seems like a perfect fit.
I would agree. Can you tell the folks about the HD cable business, please?
Oh yeah, at least the first match, their video boards said HDMI, no signal, which for any of you, I'm sure most of you are well familiar with. When you switch over to your HDMI and your device isn't turned on yet or something to that effect. And then at one point they changed. So if I remember right, at one point the match graphic finally came up for a second. I was like, they fixed it. And then they switched to HDMI 2 and it was broken again. I love shit like that. It's weird because that was the thing. We've talked about this. That shit bothers me. And yet for some reason within the last, I'm starting to overcome that, I think. Part of it's because I've actually started to get into this product. And so you kind of, once you're invested a little bit, you kind of let things slide.
It's all just in time too, because I know that our pal, the Contrarian Alex, I got him to send off 95 DVDs from Ring of Honor's, greatest years. They'll be on their way to yours. So, because I said to him, I think you've got over the production issues. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
just look after them for him, all right? Because he's gonna want them back at some point pretty soon. So,
guys, confirm shoot on eBay. You'll be finding a large set of Ring of Honor DVDs soon.
That fucking rules. This is funny. Like the fact that this is the companion to New Japan, which is like the most glorious production in all of wrestling, is hilarious.
Yeah.
And they don't seem ashamed by it at all. It's like they just view it as a different thing.
New
Best match
Japan
on the
USA.
show. I guess so. Best match on the show was Moxley, right?
Oh, yeah. He
Um,
fucking rules.
Moxley is... He's honestly... It's almost alarming how much he pops for bleeding in wrestling matches.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't alarm me at all, but if I was like a normal person that doesn't like wrestling, I'd be concerned by it. He bleeds every single week at this point, which, God bless, respect. I knew he would go pretty crazy here, but I expected more crowd brawling, less actual barbed wire bumps. And
as soon as they had those barbed wire boards in the corners,
bro.
And of course, you got the contrasting reactions here in the Shoot household, which was me pumping my fist to my wife, going, "Oh no!" It's actively hilarious that Jon Moxley's her favorite wrestler, and yet his favorite type of wrestling she fucking hates.
Yeah. He's such a big star, though, right? He kind of he gets through those limitations you would expect him to have. He's too big for it to matter.
Yeah, and she also discovered him as Dean Ambrose, so she didn't know anything about any of this.
Lunatic Fringe.
Yeah,
he was pretty nutty.
Oh yeah. El Desperado fucking rules.
Great wrestler.
Who I accidentally called El Phantasmo on Wednesday night, which
very
is
different wrestler.
Hilarious, yeah. I didn't confuse the actual wrestlers. I just got the names wrong. But he fucking rules, man.
Yeah,
I was popping huge for him. And God, that guitar shot that Moxley, what a perfectly...
The sound that made was fucking incredible.
And the camera work there was not even intentionally, but it fucking ruled because you didn't get to see him like wind up or whether that was intentional or not, it was perfect. Yeah, the soda can spot. I saw some of JJ's mentions. He tweeted about that, and they were kicking the shit out of that. The usual suspects, the old folks, they're like, "Oh, this is garbage wrestling," and whatever. I fucking gasped when I saw it. So
amazing, it it's like wrestling. People can watch wrestling every day of the week, and they still haven't realized it's a medium that has genres within it.
Yeah.
And you can simply just watch the genres that you like. And when you see Jon Moxley's working no DQ match, probably go, well, not one for me. I'll turn off after Kushida Shelley,
This is not a type of wrestling I generally like very much. But I think I'm just so invested in Mox that I'm fine with it. Like the skewer spot I genuinely didn't like. But I'm not an old man who goes on Twitter and complains about it. I was just like, well, I wish I hadn't seen that, but it's fine.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
I remember when in Blood and Guts they fucked it. I remember he couldn't get in Matt Menard's head, and he started fucking whacking it, trying to get it to go through Matt Menard's skin. Yeah. It was quite deal. I just always pop that, but I understand it's pretty gross.
Man. I've seen a skewer spot live from 3 feet away. Wasn't pleasant experience for me.
Yeah, it may be fair. That may change things slightly. Yeah, it was a hell of a deal. Moxley put in the kind of performance that makes you genuinely question the man's sanity, and I mean that as a great compliment. After the match, I talked about this on the Fleet Week earlier, which Shoot inexplicably watched, but that promo he cut is about as real as it gets in regards to as long as it says MOX, you know what you're going to get.
Some shit's about to go. That promo fucking rule. It's a shame his microphone wasn't working right because that was actually a tremendous line that I wish we had a clip of to.
He's so right. Too.
He fucking rules, man.
Yeah, he might be the best wrestler in the world.
I gave Sami Callihan money to see Jon Moxley live. That pretty much sums up my feelings on Jon Moxley right now.
Amazing wrestler. I'm glad that you got to enjoy El Desperado. He's really good. Maybe we should pick out a couple pops for your New Japan World Thing because he's really slept on.
Yeah.
Watch New Japan. He's a lot of their favorite junior heavyweight in the promotion. And he wasn't. I want to say that when the promotion was red hot, he wasn't around consistently in New Japan. I know that when I started watching, he was because Suzuki-gun was in Noah, I want to say. Someone in the chat tell me if I'm wrong about this. So I don't know if he was kind of as prominent as he has been the last couple of years. I know he had some incredible matches when they came back from the COVID shutdown, 2020.
Does he have the guitar and the flowers normally?
I don't know if he does it in an everyday occasion. I know that he teams with Kanemaru, who has the whiskey, which always pops me, his signature spots. You might have seen that Forbidden Door. I think he did the Forbidden Door. I don't think he has the flowers usually.
That
I
popped
could
me
be wrong
huge.
on that.
That fucking, like, I seriously, when he came through the curtain, I was like, oh, hell yes. I'm all in.
Yeah, so this is where I always get the timeline mixed up because like my version of Hot New Japan is like AJ Styles, and I always forget that like everyone else's version is Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like you missed that hot streak, brother. 2017.
I would be
Anyway,
I would be very happy with El Desperado getting a run in AEW for.
yeah.
I hope that's the thing that I actually want the Forbidden Door to become. I think I've talked about this before. Like the Super Show thing, whatever. Cool, I get it. But like what I would prefer, what I want to see is like someone from New Japan show up and be there for 3 months and do a bunch of cool shit and then go back, and vice versa. Somebody
Yeah.
from AEW going like that's
Yeah.
That's what interests me with the quote unquote Forbidden Door. That would be the more interesting use of it to me.
I like the Ring of Honor part. Surprise.
Yeah.
Because if you do tapings, you do one a month, guys can actually be on every time.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you could 100% book a guy once a month. Like it feels like Ishii's here every month for this point here in the States every month for this point. You know, I mean, he's doing the G1 now, but he was like Suzuki, obviously, the whole tour, as JJ brings up. That will make it easier because they can literally fly in, do a couple other dates, work that one taping, do a Dynamite maybe. And then, you know, you cover for a month. So it'll be interesting. Many moving pieces with that stuff.
Yeah,
you know?
like Tanahashi was on Strong. I haven't watched that episode yet, but that popped me huge to find that out. That's cool.
Which wrestler would you most like to see do a full-on like excursion in Japan where they spend like 6 months? For me, it's Dante. I think it would really help Dante.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting one. It's tough too because it's like, I don't watch New Japan. But there's guys who I would go out of my way to watch their stuff. Lee Johnson's a good one. I'm not sure he's big enough to do that. Bill's Mafia brings him up.
Big enough name, you mean?
Yeah.
He could be like a young lion, though. He'd be
Right.
Maybe like opening tags.
Moriarty's a good one.
Yeah.
It's hard too because you're balancing like they would be off TV for months.
Yeah. Lee's probably gone past that point, unfortunately. I think he'd benefit from it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But Lee's going to be with Stoke now, man. I think they're going to try and push him some, you know?
Me too. Yeah.
Like
bring Kingston for the matches would fucking rule, but we can't not have him in AEW for months.
he's too big. He's too big a deal at this point, right? He's probably as big a name though. I think, unless like someone like at the top of the card forces it, I think Eddie's as big a name that you may one day see in a G1.
Yeah,
because it would pop him, and like he's a main eventer, but he isn't, you know, Moxley or Punk. You know what I'm saying? So that's feels well. I thought this was the case. I'm glad I wasn't completely nuts. I remember Desperado really having like a big time stretch there in that like New Japan Cup return they did in 2020. So I'm glad I didn't imagine that. Thank you, Ben. Manny is off. Have a good night, pal. All right. What else was in this show?
Angelico.
I just want Angelico wrestle on TV, bro.
Dude, I put it in the chat this morning. I said this morning, but it was this afternoon. Like if they're keeping that pure belt,
yeah,
he's like a perfect fit for that division.
I agree. I want to shout
in
out
ring
Jesse.
wise, anyway.
I want to shout out Jesse the Buckeye, who is a distant pal on Twitter. I can't say that we talk a lot, but I have many mutual friends. She's just raided us. So if you are new here at the Late Night Grin, we're talking about professional wrestling, allegedly. So shout out Jesse. I want to talk Shelley and Kushida.
Ruled.
Really good match. Slightly hamstrung by the fact that about 8 minutes in, I went, oh, fuck. I had one of those, which is the worst thing that can happen when you think they're going to go the distance, which is like, because 20 minutes is not long, but I thought about it and was like, he's wrestling for the Impact belt next week. Kushida should win in any other circumstance. They're going to do a draw. It was still a really good match. The one criticism that I genuinely do have, you text me and I'm going to take this from you because I was mad about it as you were. Like, you have to feign urgency, bro. You can't hear 2 minutes remaining, you know?
Yeah, they did. They announced 2 minutes remaining, and Shelley immediately did it's basically an arm bar, right?
Yeah.
The slow, I was like, dude, they just said there's 2 minutes left. Like, what are you doing? But overall, the post-match was cool. We're probably going to see them together again, right? At some point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's an act they'll probably return to. I think they're teaming up. I want to say they're teaming up soon in New Japan of America. Aren't they booked at some point? Or is that an
I don't
indie
know.
date? I think there's a Time Splitters reunion booked somewhere. They'll definitely do a New Japan of America show at some point together.
Yeah.
They could wrestle for the belts, maybe.
The one thing that did really bother me about this show, actually bother me isn't the right word, but they definitely just were talking about the result of a match that
That's
hadn't
the
aired
problem.
yet on TV. That sucked.
They have a real problem with and this is why I think their format is insane. And again,
Yeah.
I say all this agreeing with you that it rules the way it pops us on our TV, but they treat it like once they tape it, it's just canon.
Yeah.
It's like why even space out the broadcasts?
It's like a semi-final of the big tag tournament, and they told me who won when I hadn't seen the match yet because it hadn't aired yet. Come on, man.
And
I knew they were going to win anyway, but
they promote strong in a way where they don't even expect you to watch it. Ian was like, you could also, if you want, stick around tonight. We're gonna have. Come on, bro. It's supposed to be the TV show. It's just it frustrates you after a bit. But
that was a big thing for. I think I've talked about this on here. One of our pals who doesn't like to be publicly named,
Alex
talked me into watching Ring of Honor at some point, and it was a pay-per-view weekend, and the pay-per-view had aired the night before, and I watched the show, and they spent 15 minutes of the show plugging the pay-per-view, and I was just like, I'm not watching this ever again.
Syndication, brother.
Yeah, I know, but it still sucks.
Yeah, tell me about it. You have to wait 3 weeks for new TV to emerge.
Yeah.
We have a new champion. How many times have you seen Kushida?
Not a whole lot. I'm trying to remember if I saw any of him in NXT. I think I had stopped watching.
Yeah, it feels like I would have missed you.
I feel like I saw when he was at ringside or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know that I saw him in NXT. I saw him wrestle. He wrestled Takahashi at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
1 year. I saw that. And then I just seen that tag match he was in with Kenta, but I haven't seen tons of him.
He's such a graceful wrestler,
Yeah.
He works the mat in a way where it's it's very pretty to watch, but not in the kind of sequence heavy way that some guys are. It's just he's so smooth.
Yeah.
Wonderful wrestler to watch. Obviously, Shelley's great, and he's really in a kind of special run of form right now. It was a really good match. I didn't think it was blow away.
There was nothing on this show that was. I mean, Moxley was the closest thing to a blow away.
It was really good, it was. I also think partly the atmosphere, it kind of lowered the ceiling. You know, when you're talking about the Ring of Honor show, I thought this atmosphere clearly lowered the ceiling of the show.
Agree.
And it was still a good show, but I don't think it allowed things to become special.
There was nothing incredible. Like I said, Moxley thing was close, but there was also nothing that sucked.
I would agree. Yeah,
there was nothing on here that was bad.
I would agree. There was one match that I thought that had the pieces of a good match, but failed to kind of get there, which we'll get to in a second. But I'd agree, nothing was close to bad. United Empire over FTR and Alexander. Cool to see FTR in this setting, right?
The atmosphere changed when they came out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You got the sense they were there to see them and Moxley, which popped me huge because that's just cool, man. I'll always pop the idea of guys actually moving some tickets as an act. It's cool. Of course, I was watching this with Papa Holber, and I said, "Listen, I love FTR. I don't need to see him do a lot here. It's just take it easy. This is Nashville Fairgrounds, brother. It's not get carried away." So of course they busted their ass and took crazy bumps to the floor.
Oh, of course, that's what they do.
Brawling for all their life. I mean, I have such admiration for the way these guys go about their business. Moxley is the same in a different way. They're not going to do skewer spots, but they are the same thing where it's if you put your money down for FTR, you're going to get FTR, which is the kind of thing that will make them legendary long beyond their career. I really like the trios match. What do you think of the FTR trios?
Very good. I like Aussie Open.
Yeah.
pretty big fans of them. I've been impressed. I'd never even heard of them when they showed up in AEW. Like legitimately, I was like, who the fuck are these guys? I've been impressed with them. I like them. Again, this wasn't the blowaway match. Probably one of the better ones on the show, though. FTR looked great. The post match, brother, like, so the microphone wasn't working, and Dax just gave up and stood up on the guardrail, and just shouted his promo to the crowd. Almost fell off. And then the best part, by far the best part, is he ends his promo and he gets down and he realizes what he didn't do. So he climbs back up on the guardrail, and there's like this extended sequence of like the fans getting each other to be quiet. Like you can literally hear the fans going shh, and they're going like this, and the whole place goes quiet, and he just yells top guys out and jumps down and they leave, and I fucking pump my fist.
It's good shit.
It's little shit like that, man. Their connection with the crowd right now is on another level. And I feel the same way about them. They're fascinating in that, I mean, obviously they're incredible in the ring, but then they've tapped into this thing that's very real. The way they talk about both life and pro wrestling, it's really hard not to like them. They've got a couple blind spots that I know some people are upset about, which I'm not going to argue with, the Cornette thing, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, like they are legitimate top guys, great workers. Dax legitimately maybe one of the top 5 workers in the world right now. And Cash is tremendous.
Yeah.
That's not a slight on him at all. But then like their willingness and ability to be vulnerable and speak about things that wrestlers don't talk about. Whatever you think about those post-show scrums, the FTR ones are worth seeking out because
sure.
they talk about stuff that will make you, I would think, for most people, would make you like them even more. It certainly does me. I don't know, man. It's just a very real connection that you kind of don't always see anymore. You're almost like you're not just fans of the workers, you're fans of the guys.
Yeah.
It's a very different, which is kind of where Moxley is too. I think, the Mox, I think I don't like, I can't come up with the right way to word it but like what happened, what he went through at the end of last year has elevated his connection with the crowd
For sure.
to another level. And I was trying to come up with the right, because you don't want to talk about it like it's a positive. I mean, obviously it's a positive that he's,
but it's not like part of a wrestling.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I mean, that's a real thing. It's like, I think, and I think this is something that may start to change over there. But like, I think there's more opportunity for real connections in AEW right now without exposing the entire process, which was one of my, like, remember, I don't even know if they do them anymore, but there for a while, WWE at its best was a documentary company. But at the same time, some of the way they did it was like totally offset to their TV product.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like the Charlotte one when she was a heel, and it was like, this is great, but at the same time, you're like, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know. It's an interesting line you have to walk in the modern wrestling world.
One of the things that's interesting about FTR is they're very much as they are often deemed a throwback, which I always think is slightly lazy on part of folks like myself. They are very much a product. Their current popularity is of like the era, in that they're the kind of wrestlers that once would have been heels forever and would have been appreciated down the line, the way an Arn Anderson was. I don't get me wrong, WCW crowds always fuck with Arn Anderson, but it weren't like, there's like an adoration that's available with how smart, I lose that term loosely, but you get what I mean? Like, crowds are clued in to how much those dudes work hard and try to have great matches. And as much as they can dismiss that part of it, and I understand why they do, and I appreciate, we're not there to have a 5-star match, try to win. I like that as a line, but let's be real. They're there to have 5-star matches, and people, they're like a positive result of how the wrestling business has changed to me. Because they're top baby faces, and it's like, while I agree with you about the Moxley, he has a personal connection. Moxley is a much more traditional top guy, in the sense that he's like dynamic and exciting as a personality in a way that, like, the characters Dax Holt and Cash Wheeler are wrestling fans. That's what they really are. They're guys that want a legacy. And fans cheer them because they believe that they're going to give them all they've got. They're gonna truly leave it all in the ring. And that's something that you only generally would get an admiration for once upon a time, once you were long gone, when all of your peers had complimented your work. And you'd, like a Bobby Eaton, for example. Bobby Eaton was fabulous, but he was not necessarily getting that kind of, it's now in hindsight, after playing the villain for most of his career, that we say, God, how great was Bobby Eaton. It's almost like FTR getting to live the kind of run that you usually get when you're long, long gone signing 8x10s, if that makes any sense.
Well, the other thing that I think is they're much better promos than I think people thought they were, which obviously changes your ceiling. But like their babyface turn was very organic in a way that you don't necessarily get anymore. Ricky's is kind of the same way. But even Ricky's was like there was an actual storyline on TV. Like FTR, just one day they were kind of baby faces, and it wasn't even like this doesn't make sense. It made perfect sense because if you've been watching the product, the fans turned them babyface. The fans just said we're not booing these guys anymore, so you can either react to it or not. But yeah, I don't know, man. They're special. I think. It's hard because, they're the best tag team in the world right now, this moment, I think. I still understand the argument for the Young Bucks. I think the Young Bucks' overall resume is still better for now. But that may change. The fascinating thing for FTR and what their future is, do they go back to WWE and kind of rewrite their legacy there, or do they stay in AEW and just become legends? And that they can do that either place, but like they have a real chance to become like a legendary act in the history of AEW.
The one thing that is interesting is before, I think we all agreed, and I would never begrudge them if this is what they did, but I think we all agreed before that if they went back under Vince, they would be effectively cashing out.
Yes.
They wouldn't phone it in, but they would be kind of, like winding down. I don't think you're going to be having half-hour matches with the Briscoes in WWE.
Right.
Now with Triple H at the helm, I only think this year, in the last 4 or 5 months, they have got quite back to what they were in NXT and better. And they're now better, obviously they're beyond that. But the first, 18 months of their NXT, of their AEW run, I do not think they were the team they were. Them and they had a nice marriage there with Triple H, right? And it's interesting to consider the idea that they could not only rewrite their legacy in WWE, but they could even add to it that they were kind of the face of a rejuvenation, perhaps, for those tag belts. It'd be interesting. I don't know. I think
this is not going to be a conversation we keep having over and over again, but I don't mean about FTR, I mean in general, because we're just guessing, and it's on some level I get the interest in it, but at the same time we're not really getting anywhere. But they definitely strike me as the schedule.
I would agree because the way they wrestled too.
Yeah, I think the Triple H thing definitely makes the conversation more interesting, but I would be surprised if they go back unless the money's just insane where they can't say no, which is possible.
People have dismissed this previously, but I genuinely think Dak's next contract will be his last 2.
Yeah,
I think he's feeling it, bro. I think that dude's he's wrestling at a rate and in a way that is like, I think he's aware that he's entering the final stretch. He's going to make this money next year. See where it goes. I don't think I'm being dramatic to say, listen, I've never had one of these matches. I never will. I genuinely think the kind of matches they've had with the Briscoes, like they take a lot out of you, dude. They were wars, man. Like truly. And this is a good point. 100%. Dax did not feel too good about the Triple H piece of the click business. So it is worth saying, though, Brucey Beats, that specific part is the Shawn Michaels part. Remember, Shawn was the guy that actively dunked him in front of the guys.
Yeah.
He was mad at Triple H for not, like, fighting their corner. I definitely think he prefers working with Tony Khan because the babyface turn that you just described, Dax has said, was his construction. He basically mapped out, we'll do this, that, and the next, and we'll win them over, basically.
I mean, genuinely, the way Dax talks about Tony Khan is fascinating.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I completely agree with you. I ain't going to tell anyone they're wrong for feeling a certain way about what he says about Cornette. All I would say is there are a lot of dudes that fuck with Cornette and just don't talk about it, and that makes it kind of weird.
I think it's... did you see the scrum after Ring of Honor?
Yeah, I saw some of theirs. I didn't see all of it.
That was the first time that I kind of had a problem with it. Because it almost felt like it almost felt like he was lecturing his peers about Cornette. Was it
when he said about they've earned the right and that stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it's weird because I don't necessarily disagree with this point.
But the content of Cornette makes it.
Exactly. So,
but you get what I mean, right? Like,
yeah,
there are some dudes that just they won't put their name to it, but they like really fuck with him and talk to him regularly and shit. Like, it's weird. The whole Cornette thing is so weird, man. Like, I don't know what to make of it, honestly. Like, it seems to me like him and Tony have like some kind of dynamic to me, based on the way they talk about each other. Like, I don't know. The Tony Khan Jim Cornette thing, I don't think is as cut and dry as it may seem from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird deal. There's a lot of kind of strangeness with Cornette where people seem to just give him the out of like, well, he's playing a character. It's like, fucking great. I guess he can just sell every once in his podcast. You know, it's bad. It's a weird one. I don't know. So anyway, elsewhere on the Music City Mayhem, Hiromu Takahashi basically said, he does, but he basically said, Blake Christian, every move that you would like to do, we will now do. He had no intention of really doing anything on his own. He just was like, do your thing, man. And he spotlighted him for 14 minutes. And I think it's fair to say Blake Christian was up to the task, right? That dude's got some fucking offense, man. Very exciting.
He had wrestled Moxley the night before. In fact, it was like 13 hours before because they didn't finish till I think like 2 a.m. the night before. Blake just started bleeding in the middle of the match, which was residuals from his match with Jon Moxley. Takahashi did make him look great, and whether it was genuine or not, he acted very impressed with him after the match. He definitely like put him over pretty strongly. I love Takahashi. The idea of him. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of him. I'm not going to pretend I have, but the Daryl thing pops me huge. I don't know why. I think it's just because I'm at heart, I'm a cat guy, so it just popped. Like, I remember, like, JJ would send me, like, yeah, I got really mad at you for that during that show. JJ used to send me, like, clips of Daryl from New Japan, and I would just pop huge. It's good shit, man.
On Cage Match, it says that the commentators were Ian Riccaboni, Matthew Raywalt, and Daryl. It doesn't say Tangaloa.
Yeah. Oh, that fucking rules. My biggest regret about Forbidden Door is we didn't get to see Sting hold Daryl after the match because that definitely would have happened.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that would have happened.
Pop.
Yeah, sad.
It was a nice match for him.
Yeah.
And I thought it was genuine too. His respect for Blake Christian was very apparent, I thought, honestly.
Yeah.
Blake Christian's interesting. I think there's definitely a role for him. He is, I don't even mean it's an insult, but he's definitely the poster boy for like a certain perception of the modern indie guy.
Yeah.
And like, I don't even mean it in a dismissive way because he has like genuinely good matches. He's not just a guy who's, like a myth. Like, he's having really good matches. It's just, I can't pretend that I watch him and say, man, I'd really like to see what they would do with him on TV. I don't really. He's interesting. I don't know.
his look is going to limit his ceiling. And I hate
It
saying
is,
stuff
yeah.
like that because fucking look at me. But it's a general, like, we do the Rickety Cricket joke, but, like, he looks like Rickety Cricket, man. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix. He's a tremendous wrestler. He should. I think he'll be in Ring of Honor. He's won matches in AEW. Been on Dark, but he's won a couple matches now. I think he'll be in Ring of Honor when they get TV. I just don't know what his ceiling is.
I think he's a mid-card babyface who has good
Yeah.
matches. I think that's about it. You know, like I also think Demon Grin's right. He could just be this what he is now and probably make
Yeah.
a good living. You know.
He wrestles everywhere, so
Yeah, and he has good matches everywhere, and he's another guy. If he's on the bill, you know, you're going to get a good show. I don't know what the ceiling is, unfortunately.
This was a fascinating thing. I don't remember the year because I'm bad at it, but we saw him on at SCI on the Future show, and like me and Alex, and I'm trying to remember who else was part of this group, but like our big takeaway was like we left that weekend and no one was talking about him, and we were like, to me, he was like the biggest star of the weekend. We were so confused, and then within like 6 months, he had blown up and was everywhere.
There you go. Well, Alex is obviously, you know, there's like some bias there, right? Because obviously, I understand Alex is. Well, no, like Alex is a very analytical guy, but when his own brother's wrestling, like it's going to be pretty hard. But yeah, no big deal. Yeah, he's good, man. He's good. Anyway, let's look elsewhere here. Again, this is just us kind of talking broadly. Did you pop for Davey Richards versus Rocky Romero, which apparently only has a 6.2 on Cage Match, which I'm definitely not mad at?
I thought it was good. I don't know the backstory. You popped huge for it. You sent me a text message after that I was very confused by.
What was it?
I can find it. I don't remember what you said.
No.
It's not anything bad. I got to find it now.
Did I call Jack Crosby a piece of shit?
Well, that's every day. That's not a thing that we need to.
Yeah, true.
Let's see.
He tried to dunk on me, and there's a lot of people on my timeline watching the Flash. I said, I am, you piece of shit.
He had talked like he was going to watch it too. So,
yeah, oh no.
There's your Shades of Lily message.
Yeah, man. She's, you know, inanimate objects at ringside. Sure, they sell a lot of both of them.
God, I don't even remember. I guess it's the one that said that match genuinely ruled.
Wow, that feels like you didn't need to be confused.
I wasn't trying to like dunk on you at all. I was just like, you were like, you sounded like you were blown away by it, and I just thought it was fine.
It popped me tremendously.
Yeah, that wasn't a bit I was doing. I was genuinely like,
there was the near falls late that made me think Rocky might win.
Yeah,
which is always the test of if a Rocky match is good because he's never going to win. I just love watching Rocky Romero. I mean, the Davey Richards bit I'm popping myself with because I think there's like a non-zero chance he shows up on one of the things we cover. And the idea of like Oracle signing up to like a live review of the first Ring of Honor TV and Davey coming in as a surprise and working Samoa Joe or someone for the TV title. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. I like to just lay the groundwork with these, but I love watching. I mean, you know this. I think Rocky Romero is incredible wrestler. So I just love watching him. It wasn't a great match. It's probably a 3.5-star match, whatever it was. But
fine.
It was a good match. So there you go.
I was very upset that I had to watch an MLW title match. I was not warned about that. I wasn't happy about it.
Dude, can we stop with you like MLW? Why do we keep pretending? It's such a terrible bit. Everyone knows that you watch it. It's like it's so dumb because everyone knows that you're like a genuine fan. Why do we have to keep pretending? It's like me going, I didn't watch the Ric Flair show. It's like me doing that. Of course I watched it. I'm an animal. You're an animal too. You watch MLW Fusion every week. Fred Yehai needs to be signed, bro.
He fucking rules, man.
How good is that dude?
I hadn't seen him in a while.
He's intensity, bro.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
Rules.
He's such an indictment of professional wrestling. That's what it's called. Like, bro, him not being on TV when we have to watch some of the dudes that are on TV is honestly a disgrace.
It makes no sense.
And like, as far as I can tell, the only thing that you could say about him negatively is that he's not someone that will be like actively pursuing things. He believes in the idea that it should come to him, which good luck, Fred. I've heard him talk about. He did a great interview with my pal Andrew Thompson, who he was like, he really pops the idea of wrestling being a fair space. He had this comparison. He's like, I'm an NBA fan, and he's like, I'm a big fan of the NBA, and ultimately, you get on the court and your skill will tell the truth, right? He's like, I believe if you put me in the ring with anyone, I can hang. And it's like, man, that's such a wonderful approach, but I just feel like it's not the way. And I'm not criticizing Fred, because trust me, I can very much relate to the sentiment that he's sharing. I think the world of him. I think he's not just the guy who should be on TV. I think he's a case of the Eddie Kingstons, where it's like, I think he could actually be like a player for a promotion.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he'd be a watcher, but fuck it. I think he could be a top guy for Impact tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think he's that good, and he has a certain charisma and a presence. I think he's a hell of a wrestler. I really do. So.
I've been very high on Fred for a long time. He's another guy that we saw in Tennessee.
Yep.
And he's one that popped Adrian huge too. She was so excited when she saw he was on that card, because we hadn't seen him in a long time. I can't even remember the last time I'd seen him. He fucking rules, man. It's like, I don't know. You never know what the answer is, but like, he should be somewhere.
He should. Yeah, there's so many bad wrestlers that are featured. I mean, he's had 24 matches this year. That's not few, right? That's not bad.
He would be another guy who could do Ring of Honor pure matches.
He did do something for them before,
yeah.
But obviously that was the time in Ring of Honor where you could have. I mean, I could have been on it. You wouldn't have known. He does do strong semi-regularly. So
yeah, I knew that. I'm excited to hopefully see more of him there.
It appeared they were framing him to wrestle Rossa. Was what on commentary they were talking about him. He was wanting next, so you may get that match.
I missed that. Roster's an interesting one for me, because I wasn't really a fan of him in WWE. I liked the primetime players, but as workers, I liked the act. I actually liked the act a lot. But I didn't think they were great wrestlers by any means. And this was the first time I've seen him in his new incarnation, and I wasn't blown away here, but it also probably wasn't the best opportunity for him to blow me away. That's not a slight on Damo, who I like. It's just a weird style. And then, like we talked about with Crosby, that was a match that needed a crowd, and the crowd wasn't with it.
I mean, it's hard. Look, they got 13 minutes, and I respect what the intention was. I think Fred Ross did an admirable job trying to kind of present Damo as a badass and a monster.
Yeah.
I'll just be totally transparent. He seems like a wonderful human being. I don't think Damo's up to it. I don't think he's ever been that guy. I think he's a guy who can do some cool shit, and he's a good tag team wrestler. When you're asking him to control a match for 10 minutes, and be engaging and be entertaining and be frightening and intimidating, I just don't think that's who he is. And look, that's an art. Okay, I mean, I've talked about it with Jonah before. Jonah's capable of a lot of stuff. That ain't what he's good at.
There aren't a lot of people that are good at that anymore.
Ever, honestly though, even back in we forget. For all of the Vaders, there was an awful lot of, I don't need to name people, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
King Mabels. It's hard, bro. It's hard. Like, you're not trying to be flashy. You're just trying to be a badass, a monster. It's just difficult. So I think he really struggles with that. Alt Ross is sold well and show good, fighting spirit and hope spots and stuff. But when you're going 30 minutes and that's your one idea and there's not really any other elements to the match, you need a crowd that cares. And this crowd did not care at all about this match. It was not a strong audience, if such a thing exists. It was an audience there at CFTR and John Moxley. And it showed with this match because Fred he's the champion, right? In theory. So,
yeah, this definitely happened.
That was unfortunate, yeah. Damo showing his whole ass was unfortunate.
He pulled his tights up into his ass crack. I don't know how else to describe it. And then, yes, they immediately panned to a young girl. It's like, well,
unfortunate.
Yeah. Could have done without that.
Yeah. Definitely so. You should have tweeted the Tony clip for that.
I almost did.
Do you remember
I have it in my phone.
When Jay White, he wanted to do character, and as soon as that dude dropped his belt, he was like, "Oh, this is going to be my shtick for the next 10 minutes." Just spent 10 minutes kind of promo on the dude who fucking dropped his belt.
And then they kicked the shit out of him for at the last scrum. They just brought it up. Tony brought it up over and over again.
Switchblade, brother. Name your top 5 bad TV wrestlers. We don't need to be mean, but Brian Pillman Jr. is obviously one of them.
Yeah.
I mean this with all love to the guy. Maybe he's going to come back a different wrestler. I'm told he had a good match here in Great Britain recently. I have always been fascinated by the Kip Sabian thing.
Oh.
Him being the Brit who made it over is always like one of the most interesting. I don't really know what. I think he was a Cody guy, was what I want to think.
Yeah.
Because he has that good look, which I get, but like, always perplexed me. I'm not saying he's even bad. He's just kind of there, and he's like.
I genuinely don't even feel like I've seen enough of him to say for sure.
Right,
Flair match is down to 3.25.
Yeah.
Poor Manny.
Did Manny really love it?
Man, he was in the Wrestle Purist group chat giving it 5 stars.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Paul, the other British wrestler was fucking terrible. I don't know why they ever brought Havoc over. He was terrible. I never thought, I mean, I remember going to Rev Pro shows to see fucking Hiroshi Tanahashi and AJ Styles. And I'd heard so much about Jimmy Havoc, and he came out in his pajamas and started brawling through the crowd. And I thought, this must be some sort of, is this like a bit?
People
I couldn't believe it.
People forget how thin the AEW roster used to be.
They really
do. Yeah.
It was like there's like one Dynamite where they're doing inner circle trios that goes like 20 whole minutes. Yeah. Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz versus the Elite in some way. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's very telling, Shu, that you just said you don't think you've seen enough of Kip Sabian when you've absolutely watched him wrestle for about 2 years.
That's true. Yeah. I just don't remember him being terrible. I just kind of remember not caring about him.
But that's like when we talk about Fred Yehi not being on TV, that's what I'm kind of getting at. Like he was a guy who was like a mid-card heel.
Right.
So he was just unremarkable. Maybe that's the idea. I don't know.
I'm trying to think of who else I really can't stand. I mean, Pillman goes without saying.
I mean,
it's hard. There's just not a ton of bad wrestlers on TV, like truly bad wrestlers.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said there's bad. There's a lot of them are worse than Fred Yehi.
Yeah.
Most of them. But like, there are some guys who are more of a package thing, like the Dinosaur's a little bit lucky,
Right.
And like Danhausen, you can't say he doesn't deserve to be on because he's so.
Yeah, he's a bad wrestler.
Over. But he's not a good wrestler, right? He's,
The last I've seen Danhausen before he was this incarnation of Danhausen. Very bad. He's got me blocked on Twitter, which fair, even though it popped me. I don't think I've ever really said anything about him. So maybe he watches the Late Night Grand and was like, well, fuck this guy.
He might, yeah.
Yeah.
A Go-Go is an incredible project.
Yeah.
There are some times in this space where like something will be happening and you'll think to yourself, what do they actually intend to do here? Do you know what I mean? And like what happens sometimes is they give you an answer, like there's a plan, and then other times you watch it play out and you're none the wiser of I have no clue what the actual ceiling was supposed to be for Anthony Ogogo.
He's another Cody guy,
right? And I get Cody wanted to do that, like he wanted to wrestle him in England or whatever the fuck he wanted to do, but it's like I remember when he was getting featured in May of 2021. I remember talking about some distraction at length. I was like. He seems like a good promo. And he's obviously a good-looking guy and a good athlete. But it's like, let's say he gets to being like an average-level wrestler. Like, how do you intend to push him on TV? He can't just have matches, which is ultimately what everyone ends up doing in AEW. And if you go with a super push, the audience would hate that.
Yeah.
Imagine he knocks out Jon Moxley in a pay-per-view main event. People wouldn't like that. What do you do with guys like that,
I actually think... For the most, I mean, there's exceptions, but for the most part, I think AEW can stay out of the building people from the ground up business. I don't think there's any reason for them to do that. They don't need to do that.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. To be fair, when they signed a Go-Go, they were desperate for talent, right?
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, he was one of their early signings, and I actually think he's very good on commentary. I think that might be his role, honestly. Yeah. It's interesting because lately when he does commentary, he's not really being a heel, which is fascinating because he's a fucking dick when he's as a wrestler. Yeah. But like the last couple times he's been doing commentary, he hasn't been like doing the shtick as much, which makes me wonder. He didn't used to, when he was on commentary regularly there back in the day. He was babyface,
full babyface. Yeah, absolutely.
And he wasn't bad then either. He wasn't great, but I think he's gotten better.
He did some punditry work here for boxing here, so he's pretty comfortable on TV. The Regal RJ City thing was fucking hilarious, bro.
I need to start watching those. I haven't watched any of them.
I don't think I like RJ. I think people are a little bit dramatic with how funny they are, but the Regal one is like actually funny, like legitimately so. The Regal one, the Ricky and Hobbs one is funny just because I love their dynamic. Well, that may make you slightly emotional now watching it, for obvious reasons.
Right.
They're very good. I'm just saying, like, it's like when people tell us the Bob show's good. It's like, well, no. We just pretend it is,
Right.
To be clear, that show's better than the Bob one. My review.
Fair. I actually
he's a funny guy though.
The Hobbs and Starks thing I didn't have any emotional reaction to that at all. I was so happy that Ricky was turning babyface that it didn't upset me they split them up at all. And I loved that act. I'm just like, I'm so happy for Ricky. I didn't have any kind of like, I would pump my fist. It's like, hell yeah, let's go immediately. There was no like, well, that's a shame. Like, I'm ready to go.
That's a bit callous. They were friends.
Yeah, they're still friends, Joe. It's a work, brother.
What are you talking about? He hit him over the head. Did he hit him right in the neck, dude? Ricky felt he killed him.
I get to see Hobbs on Wednesday. Do a squash match. I'm fascinated to see who his opponent's going to be.
Seriously. Because Jay Shell never is honest about this stuff. Seriously. What do you think Hobbs is going to say about him when you guys meet up?
We'll do that off the air.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That good, huh? I hear he needs a new manager.
Mm-hmm. Change the subject, man.
So, Music City Mayhem was a good show.
I like New Japan USA. I'm a fan. I'm sticking with this one. Just call it New Japan. It's objectively a better name.
Yeah, but I like the
Japan
fact that
America.
I like that it's the little O.
Yeah, that's fair.
The acronym, it's NJ little OA.
That's fair.
Dude, my dad watched an hour of that show thinking it was from like Tokyo. And was like, man, they got a lot of Americans here. I was like, yeah, it's in Nashville.
That rules.
I think that's
they run Nashville kind of regularly from what I think.
My God, really?
Well, dude, I'm moving to Tennessee probably, so that popped me huge because like,
my God,
yeah, I'll make that. I'll make the 90-minute drive to Nashville for New Japan USA. Just spoil a month of strong for you.
How much would Oracle hate those tapings?
I'll make him go with me.
How much would he hate? Like he's sitting there and out comes Hikuleo to work a 6-minute TV win.
Yeah.
Yeah, G1. I'm a little bit behind. I haven't watched this weekend's shows, but
I've been to worse shows with the Oracle of Wrestling.
Oh, I bet. Did Oracle like those shows?
He claimed to.
Fair. Okay, that works. Is there anything else we should talk about?
World Class Fridays.
You're excited, bro. I can tell.
Dude, I'm fired up. Finally, well, I can't say finally because it's not like nobody to stop me from doing this, but like, obviously I couldn't do World Class Fridays on Fridays when we did the late night Grin.
No, you'd have to do it on another day, and it would be World Class Fridays.
Yeah, and then I got to change the logo, and that's too much work. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Basically, I've probably made it clear enough on Twitter, but the concept, I called it a monthly show, but the goal is probably to do it a little bit more than that because otherwise we're going to be doing this for 6 years. But basically the goal is to do at least one show a month. Joe and I, this is not a watch along. Joe and I are going to watch the World Class TV from each month. We're just going to go month to month. That's the easiest way to do it. So we're starting with May of 82, which is also hilarious because we're starting with a month that's got 5 shows in it. But we're going to do that, and we'll just review the shows. I may try to like get a little background, but I may not, just because trying to pretend that we're historians sounds like a bad idea the more I think about it. We'll just talk about the shows. There's going to be companion content, shoulder content, whatever you want to call it. I haven't come up with a good name for it yet, but we are going to do watch-alongs that tie in to World Class Fridays, where we'll watch 1 or 2 matches. My thought process is kind of, and this will depend on what's available on YouTube, because this footage is owned by the World Wrestling Federation. So anything that's been on YouTube for a while we'll feel safe with giving a shot, I guess would be the right way to put it. So my thought process is kind of we'll do our review of the month, and from watching that month, we'll have a match or 2 that will be like, this will be a good thing to show everyone. Because my hope is even just 1 or 2 of you become fans of the Von Erichs because of this. This is a success for me at that point. We're diving in before the Freebirds show up. So we're kind of going to get comfortable with the promotion, and then get to see the impact the Freebirds have on the promotion. Because I think that would be like the common thing would be to dive in right when they show up and when they turn and all that stuff. But I like the idea of laying the ground, especially since you haven't seen any of this. Right. So you kind of get a feel for what the promotion was. You can literally, because I've seen until February of 84, you can see the crowds get bigger. You can literally see it on each week's episode. So this will be like a love letter for me. This is some of my favorite stuff. And then it'll become a cool project for both of us, because we'll get to 84. Like I haven't seen Gino.
Yeah.
Because I quit watching before we got there. And then I didn't have Peacock. I got Peacock because of the USFL, and I still have it. So it was like, well, fuck, let's finally do the World Class thing. It'll be fun. It'll be I do intend to like be a little bit better at reviewing these shows. I'm planning on like taking notes, not like insane. I'm not going to sit here with a fucking, book.
You want to do it
like, well,
but do you want to do it like show for show, or is it more monthly talking points? Like, because some stuff with wrestling TV is you can really do a nice kind of overlap. Like this guy was getting some momentum. He's had 3 wins, and we can't talk about it.
I think we can kind of tie it together, but I do like the idea of kind of talking about everything.
Yeah.
Not like at length, because some of the stuff is not going to be worth talking about at length. But it's going to especially... So I think what'll be interesting at first, especially, is you guys are going to get to see me and Joe's dynamic change a little bit, because I'm going to be the guy who's probably going to lead it a little bit more, because I'm going to be wanting to get Joe's reaction to stuff, because the first 20 months, I've seen it already. Yeah. So I'm going to be kind of like, Joe, what were your thoughts on this, as opposed to you always ask. So that'll be fun, I think. There will definitely be some hilarious moments when Joe doesn't like the stuff that I like. And then
you get punched me like you did Jack on Friday.
Yeah.
Jack should be there too, quite a bit.
Jack will be there some. I'm sure Contrarian Alex will probably show up some. I got a couple other people in mind who may show up. I haven't asked them yet, so I don't want to name them. Kevin Von Erich. More likely, he'll probably turn down the World Class Fridays thing, but there's a decent chance that he and Bob will do a political show. Like-minded stuff there. And then, like I said, the other thing we'll probably do is the Von Erichs were... I don't want to overstate how big they were in All Japan, because I'm not 100% sure. I don't know that they were like massive, right. But we may start to like...
It's nice companion content.
Yeah, sure. We'll try to... When they did something big in All Japan in the month that we're dealing with, we we may not talk about it a whole lot on the proper World Class Fridays, as I get to use that term again, but we'll definitely do like watch along type stuff for it. And yeah, we'll see if we can get Adam Cole to come on and talk about World Class. I'll just have like a montage of Joe's comments about him, and I'll just play him randomly. We'll see how that goes.
He's back this week,
I know I'm going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pop huge after not really missing him at all while he was gone. So this will be fun. I'm a big, as you guys can tell, I'm a big fan of the Von Erichs. I have little doubt that a lot of this stuff is going to pop Joe huge. Like, some of this stuff I'm going to get all caps text messages on some of this stuff. Some of the stuff is not going to pop him, but I know for a fact there's some stuff that's going to be like, it's going to be really fun to watch Joe truly come to appreciate the Von Erichs.
I'm excited for it. It's something that I've been kind of suggesting as we've kind of talked about before, right? Like it's something to carry over. I also want to throw this out there because I messaged you about it earlier. There's a good chance that if I like how this works as a format in terms of a workload thing, that I do a very similar project for Black and Gold NXT. That show has changed an awful lot in terms of the personnel that was on those shows, and the way that everyone has sort of gone in their own directions is really interesting. I was watching 2016 stuff. I never got to that Marathon Joe Sammy match, which I'm definitely going to avoid now, but I was watching some of that TV, and it's like, it's so interesting. And even the 2 years before that is really good stuff too, right? With Sammy and Neville and all that stuff. So that's something I'm also interested in doing. If you guys would like to see that, please feel free to tell me. I don't know if Shoot would be in on that, but we'll figure it out. So, I think the Black and Gold era now is even more interesting. Triple H is back in power,
right?
Because the parallels will be interesting, So
yeah, we're like I tweeted this, and I genuinely mean this. I think what you're starting to see is this channel slowly becoming all of us doing our own little projects, and then we come together as a family. Grin XT beautiful for the late night Grin, where we sometimes don't even talk about wrestling hardly at all. So you're going to start to see us like the Kenta project still happening. That will be a show or a concept that is not going to have any set schedule, and it'll just kind of happen when it happens. We will just show up and watch some Kenta matches, and I'll pop huge. And to tell you where my headspace is with the Kenta project is, I don't even plan on doing any branding or anything for it, which me saying that's insane. So that's just a thing we're going to show up and pop ourselves with sometimes. We're going to play around with this watch along stuff that Joe started doing. I think there's a lot of potential there as a Twitch, especially like these times when we're bored and just want to do something.
That's what it's really good for, yeah.
That's like I haven't started yet, but I plan to compile Kenta matches so I have them on hand so that we can go, hey, the Kenta project number 2, here's, depending on how long they are, maybe even just one match, but maybe 2 or 3. I want to do them chronologically, but I'm also using cage match. I don't like, the goal is to watch the high profile stuff.
The classics.
Yes. But I'm not going to skip like anything that's got a decent rating on cage match. If I can find video of it that's worth watching, then we're going to.
Works for me, bro. I haven't seen all that stuff either. So
yeah, that's a hole I need to close. One of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I haven't seen much of his stuff in his prime. I'm a fan of him from fucking YouTube highlight videos. He's kind of a myth to me in some ways, like peak prime Kenta.
I hope it's not better that way. That'd be unfortunate.
No, I don't think that'll happen.
We just watch one, you're like, well, 3.25. Just it unravels as we do it, The Oracle of Wrestling was very relieved when he did not win Green Graps, right? I know that. He's very relieved.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have to come on and talk about the limb selling and, God only knows what. So
that ended my involvement in the Grin Grappler.
Terrible shame.
Yeah.
All because Samoa Joe won, of all people.
Probably for the best. That show's probably better without me. I mean that genuinely. I'm not even.
Show is pretty good.
Yeah.
Which Kenta Marufuji match you got? Are we still doing that for main event, or is that all?
No, we're gonna move all this stuff to the Kenta stuff. Oh, someone asked what the main event match this week is. It's Ted DiBiase and Randy Savage cage match from MSG in '88.
We should get a couple more of those in the can.
Yeah, we'll do that maybe tomorrow or the week after. We got it. Well, we have to next week. We don't have a choice, but yeah, we'll get something done.
Absolutely. If you haven't seen it, we did Stan Hansen and Kenta Kobashi this past weekend. I'm aware it was a very busy weekend. So the beauty of those is, as you always said, Shu, is that they're kind of there for whenever. There's a lot of like old school and retro, and it doesn't mean super old. Like I just pitched the NXT thing, which is how long was that? 7 years ago, whatever it is. I just think it's a really nice way to round out the kind of lineup we have content-wise.
Yeah.
And as you said, we're trying to pop ourselves here because, let me reiterate Friday's conclusion, we are not wrestling media, confirmed Shu.
Exactly.
We are the Late Night Grin. We're your favorite irreverent outlaw multi-platform network.
There you go. Oh, I should say, if your immediate reaction to what that match was negative, trust us on this one.
Well, it's not only good, but there's also like one piece of it that is very funny.
Yeah, trust us on this one, guys. We popped huge, more than we expected to.
Yeah, exactly right. So much to look forward to. Tomorrow, in terms of Grin content, all I know that's happening for sure is the SummerSlam review of the Oracle of Wrestling. Probably Jay Shell and Bobby.
I won't be on that.
No, you've already wrote your review, haven't you?
Yeah.
In the newspaper.
Yeah.
Did you actually see the Brock visual we were talking about earlier?
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen anything like it, dude. I was looking at it it was surreal to me. Do you know what I mean? I was like, because they do all those stupid graphic effects. I was almost like doubtful for half a second. I was like, oh my God, they really pulled the ring up.
Right.
Hell of a deal. So
people seem really happy with that show last night.
Yeah, it was a little much.
Yeah.
It's a good show, but like, there's definitely that thing that I said to you is happening where like the key to everything, perception is reality. People are watching it through the lens of like, it's better now.
Right.
So a show of like 2 actual good matches has been turned into like the show of the year, which is, God bless. That's not a problem. It's a good thing. But
I'm glad people enjoyed it, man. Like I will say, genuinely, guys, my goal going forward is to not do the negative thing about the World Wrestling Federation. I'm not really going to talk about them either. I'm probably not going to play the Fed Dead video anymore. I apologize to everyone. Doesn't mean you'll never see it. Just means I won't be the one that clicks it. Joe's about to click it now, I think. I want to be clear that I'm not going to do this horse shit. All wrestling is amazing. Bullshit. I don't like the WWE. I'm not going to start liking the WWE, but I don't like it when people do that shit about AEW, so I'm not going to do it for WWE. It's that simple. It's like the thing that happened on Friday where I got mad about the Ricky Starks thing when we spent countless hours fantasy booking WWE guys coming to AEW. So it's very hypocritical, and I'm going to work on that.
That's fine.
Yeah. I know no one else cares about this but me, but
we're entering a new world, shoot.
Yeah.
Watch
your wrestling, guys. TM Tony Khan.
He never used that, bro. Why did he give up?
I know. He that was like a big thing, and then he just dropped it.
I don't know, man. Like, I much prefer your response than like some of the stuff where people seem actively mad that people like SummerSlam.
Yeah, that is a thing. That's stupid. Like,
it's been really weird. Like the weird like, now that WWE is good, we don't want an alternative. It's like, no, man. Like I just kind of watch the wrestling again now. It's where I'm at in my life. It feels healthier for me, I mean, this weekend I watched fucking Music City Mayhem, SummerSlam, and then the Ric Flair show. I'm pretty content. It's fine. Yeah. I can watch it. It's no big deal. It's not a political statement every time I buy a wrestling show. It's fine.
This is definitely a thing he's trying to get over.
Yeah, that's
justified. This is all every time that there's a chant.
You know what the payoff is to that, right?
An unjustified "This is awesome" chant.
Yeah, Gresham comes back to the first Ring of Honor taping. He has a match with Blake Christian.
They chant, "This is awesome," and Tony Khan just tweets horseshit.
Yeah. What a terribly unjustified, this is awesome chant for this shitty match on AEW TV, Ring of Honor TV right now. 1.25. Yeah, it's good shit. So anyway, we are the Late Night Grin. I don't know if you know that about us. We're very famous. You know what we've been doing? Shit, we've been punching above our weight since 2021. Do you know that?
Yeah.
We
That
are.
may be a shirt, by the way.
Yeah, like a Roots of Fight style shirt. Like we're
exactly where I was. That's exactly where my head was.
That's why I tweeted it, because I thought I'm going to put this. I'm going to plant the seed in the Confirmed Shoots creative mind, because I think this is going to be a shirt soon. I was correct. So that's the thing we do. We are not wrestling media. Have you heard that? We're not your mama's wrestling media anyway. We are the Late Night Grid. We are your favorite irreverent multi-platform outlaw network that produces wrestling conversational content. We will cover things such as world-class championship wrestling and All Japan Pro Wrestling and the greatest hits of Kenta. Also, sometimes we review AEW Dynamite.
And Joe talks about MLW for some reason.
They're off right now. They're not in season.
Yeah.
I have to review Impact on Fridays instead, which is so much less fun.
Owned.
We're
6
times.
The shit out of Impact on Thursday nights.
We're going to work that into our branding.
Absolutely beat them in the demo.
We got to make it part of our branding, right?
Yeah.
We need to find like some clips of Bischoff talking about Raw, like work it into our shtick, you know.
Yeah.
I want my intro. I think I'm going to do.
Well, I think we've learned our lesson on Bischoff clips.
Yeah, true. Like I mean, for the Twitter.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea. Yes.
Brucey Beats brings this up. If you guys have been impressed with my tribalism for All Elite Wrestling, just wait till the XFL and USFL thing next year.
I think I'm going to open the show on Thursday by spoiling Impact.
Yeah.
Thinking of turning over, don't bother. Madman Fulton just did a flat job to Luke Gallows.
That's a great idea. Fucking Double J will be punching the air, pissed off. When he listens the next morning before he watches Impact.
Yeah. I think it'll be a good time. We're excited, man. We're very fired up. I appreciate everyone that's shown us love this month. We had a strong month. We had an interesting month. We enter August in a good spot, I feel.
Oh, fuck. It's August now.
It is. It's August. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get a full month of Late Night Grin. See if you like it. Just $1 gets you in the door. Gets you everything, in fact. Not just in the door. There are no tiers. There are just grins. I have been told that when you attempt to sign up, the default is $5. That's not the case. That's just the weird default because we don't have tiers. We're the only people on Patreon that do this. So you could just put 1 and you get everything.
You could also put 10 and get everything.
Or 100.
Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah. There's going to be so much content.
Currency.
Yeah,
except cryptocurrency. We're not fucking losers.
Well, Bob.
That's true.
So there's just, there's a lot going on. Very excited. I'm excited to kind of really focus in on making this thing, giving folks bang for their buck, so to speak, We're going to do some weird shit, bro. I've got some weird shit planned. Like some really weird shit. Like Bob's going to have to be ready to go for this stuff. I'm just playing. We're going to do I do want to do some kind of more variety stuff because what I've really... So the wrestling content will never be lessened, but what I have realized is for some reason you guys like hanging out with us. Last Friday, I did a show where I just talked about movies for an hour and people were popping, and I've realized that the platform was called the Late Night Grin. So it can really about whatever the fuck we want it to be. So I am actually going to do some movie stuff. Like I might do some like commentary track business. We're going to start with Bob, right? One of the Fridays this month, Bob is going to do the Lebowski show, which is literally going to be called Bob Watches the Big Lebowski while we just do a podcast. So there's going to be like different stuff like that. I'm going to do some boxing shit. Maybe we should do some NBA pops when the season comes around. Just like misinformed takes about the National Basketball Association.
That'd be hilarious. I mean, I'm no more qualified for that than I am to talk about wrestling, so why not?
We should do like, those classic like win-loss over-under gimmicks. Like, what's the line? 40 wins, See how many we get wrong. It'd be funny.
This is actually a fascinating idea. of us just picking some fucking shitty movie that we found that we can watch without any copyright issues and just watch it. And
we need to try it. I know it's hard because it's with Prime, but we could definitely do it as one-offs, you know?
yeah,
It could be good. I don't know.
I don't know if I want to talk about baseball, guys. I'm very, very depressed with my baseball team at this point. They feel very hopeless. But I felt that way about my football team, and then they went to the Super Bowl last year. So
the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati Bengals.
You know who supports those guys, right?
You?
No.
John Moxley.
Yes, but not I'm thinking of. There's two great wrestlers.
Machine Gun Carl Anderson.
True.
Renee Paquette.
No. She doesn't wrestle.
She's a fan though.
Yeah, but
not really. She's not really a fan. She just supports him because of her husband. Yeah, not
like you,
my
Adam
wife.
Cole.
Yeah. Well, Adam Cole's not a Bengals fan. I don't know who. Don't do it.
The Messiah of the Backbreaker, Roderick.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I thought you were going to say Brian Pillman Jr.
Nah, he's terrible. So anyway, folks, Ric Flair is alive and well at the time of this recording. Shout out to him. The Undertaker had a terrible night by the sounds of it. So shout out to Ric Flair for that. I appreciate it. Bret Hart, please book an interview in the coming weeks. I would like to know your take.
Dude, I finally got the Bret Hart gun picture over tonight.
Congrats, bro.
Finally.
Strong tweet. Shout out Connor Casey at Connor Casey CB. Does everyone go follow him so he can get his fucking follow account up there? He's 2 away. 2 away, boys. Come on. It's getting where he needs to be. 2,000. It's where he belongs. Much more than that, honestly, but it's getting there. Is there anyone we can raid at 12:30 a.m. Eastern time?
With our 31 viewers.
That's pretty good for this hour, bro.
That is, yeah. You guys are awesome.
Pretty good. We do pretty well. Like there's some, some of those big companies, those wrestling media folks, they go on Twitch and they don't do this well,
Yeah.
That's why we've been punching above our weight since 2021. Brandon Cutler and Colt Alive together, or just Brian and Vinny definitely don't need us. They're not one of those companies that don't do well. This dude Cutler.
Brian and Vinny are live on.
Yeah, bro, that's what they do. That's their like
thing now.
Yeah, the Observer runs on Twitch, bro.
I had no idea.
There are certain folks that go on the Observer that we beat in viewership, Cutler's only got 58. We can do this. Great. Someone recalled Connor Casey's at 2,000.
Evil yelled late night grin. Hello. Shout
out to Connor. He's hit 2K. All right, folks, we're going to send you to Brandon Cutler. Please record his response to us. It'll be very funny. And then everyone on YouTube will say goodbye to you too. So, folks on Twitch, enjoy Cutler. We're going to do it in 10 seconds, apparently. Hold on. Shoot, do you have any final words for the Twitch folks?
Bro, Brian and Vinny only have 86 viewers. We're not that far behind them. We're taking over.
Do you have any final thoughts for the Twitch folks? No. Bye. All right. If you're watching on YouTube, sign up, latenightgreen.com. Just $1 gets you all the things we talked about more, all the audio files for those shows. Shoot, any final comments for the YouTube folks?
No.
Fair.
Follow us on Twitch.
Yeah, good call, actually. I should do that more often. All right. Enjoy this outro. Or how?